Hello there, Comic Clan, and welcome to Comics and the Cross, the greatest streamers you have never heard of. I, of course, am your host for today, Cross, sitting alongside my partner in crime, probably for the last time ever after the comment he made before we came on stream, Nitro. Say hello to the people, Nitro.
What's up, good people?
Okay, we're kicking this off with this. We're bringing this to the clan today. We're getting this out here. We are literally sitting, waiting to go live. The countdown video is kicking off. And he looks at me and goes, I see that one frame of when we're talking to Dave Pepos. And one of those frames...
It's after you had dyed your hair, and your hair, the dye was growing out, and you hadn't styled it that day, so it was like straight bangs.
He goes, dude, one of those frames, you look like Joe Exotic from Tiger King.
Side by side, I promise you, side by side, you're going to thank me. Maybe not you, Cross, but
I'm going to say, I'm not going to freaking thank you. Just the end of the friendship with one comparison. Like, you can look like Joe Exotic.
I didn't say you were him. I just said that one frame made you, there's similarities.
Mm-hmm. See, he says that, but I'm still mad at him, so, How are we all doing today? Probably doing better than I am right now after that. Gosh. How are we doing? Good to see you, Ravenite. Welcome on in, sir. Hi, hey, thank you so much for coming back and hanging out with us. I appreciate you coming back. Hi, hey, one of our new followers that joined us on Friday night for our Sea of Thieves stream, which was an absolute blast. And we're going to catch absolute chaos in his channel. Definitely catch us on Friday nights. Yeah, we kicked off season 6. Kicked off season 6. It was a lot of fun. Wearing my snazzy new Ravenite Comics King or Tiger Cross. No. We're not going that road.
This is gonna be good.
Ah, dear. But yeah, so Friday night we had a lot of fun. I was joined by Seal the Centurion, longtime friend of ours, JB, a newer friend to the channel. And after a little bit of shuffling around, Cable 3 came in and joined us. So he came and joined us as well, and we had an absolute blast kicking off season 6 of Sea of Thieves. We raided one of the brand new forts. We ended up trying to raid an underwater part as well, which ended up not being as much of a fight as just gathering things as we thought, and also got into a little bit of PvP where we sank 2 ships the same size as ours and then got sunk by a teeny little thing that kept swooping around us and took us out, but we had an absolute blast. We will of course be back again this Friday for more of it, so catch that if you're interested in seeing us in utter chaos and having no clue what we're doing.
Every Friday now it's our new stream, which is really exciting, dude.
Every Friday, Sea of Thieves has become one of those fun streams just to do. It had to be done.
Do you remember, when we were first talking about playing that game, I was like, I don't know, man.
I had to fight and convince you to play that game.
Thank you.
Thank
you for doing that, man.
Fight and convince you that it was going to be worthwhile, and it was like one of our most played games in the stream.
It was awesome.
But yeah, so thank you everyone who's here to join us today. We are of course going to be talking about the Batman. We are going to be talking about the new Robert Pattinson led Batman movie from Matt Reeves.
Full spoilers, everybody.
Yeah, full spoilers for the
conversation. At your own
risk. Full spoilers. If you have not seen it, I highly recommend going and watching it, going and catching it for yourself before you check out the show. Cable 3, which one of you is Vengeance? Well, at this point, me, after the freaking Joe Exotic comment. After the Joe Exotic comment, I'm definitely Vengeance. I do a little shout out for Cable, if I can spell. Nope, that's 2, not 3. There we go. A little shout out.
Do a really good job.
A little shout out for Cable 3. Again, Cable, one of the guys that joined us on Friday night. We had an absolute blast in Sea of Thieves. So yeah, we're going to be getting into full spoilers for the Batman today.
At your own risk.
So I'm trying to think of if there's any major news that dropped this week. I don't think there was anything.
We have obviously the Netflix Marvel shows are coming to Disney. Finally.
Yeah, that's like
this week. I think
16th.
Actually.
Yeah, so 3 days they finally dropped.
Yeah.
That was one of the things actually. Apparently there was a whole thing with a lot of parents that are really mad that the Marvel Netflix shows are coming to Disney Plus. Which I can understand because Disney's more of a family-friendly content creator. If you're not used to that stuff, you're worried their kids.
They have PG-13 stuff on Disney.
Yeah,
it's not like it's gonna bring anything new to the table. I can think of maybe some stuff in Jessica Jones that might be a tad bit risque for Disney. But
I can think of a lot of stuff in a lot of the shows that are a bit risque for Disney. And I'm like, what shows are you watching at Disney Plus? I'm just thinking of like the violence in Daredevil and Punisher, the freaking, the drug running going on Luke Cage, the freaking like sex in Jessica Jones. I'm like, this isn't typical Disney Plus content, son. What Disney Plus shows are you watching?
Congo or Jessica Jones. You gotta pick.
Yeah, no difference at all there. But yeah, so they're going to be dropping. A lot of people are kind of a bit iffy on it. At the same time though, like I've got Disney Plus with my kids. It's like you can create kids accounts for your younger kids to watch stuff. Keep an eye on what your kids are watching, just monitor the stuff that they're watching. It's no different than watching anything else. It's no different than having a Netflix account or having a Hulu account, or you can create kids stuff for that, but like in the adult stuff you can get more adult stuff.
Is Terminator on Disney? No, Terminator's not on Disney Plus, is it?
If it is, I missed that.
Dude, if it is, I'm gonna watch that today.
I'm gonna go check that if it is, man. Love Terminator. At least the first two. Love the first two Terminator movies.
Second one is the best one.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Oh yeah, 100%. If you don't believe that, you're just wrong.
You're just incorrect.
But yeah, so like that's coming, and people are kind of like mad about that and stuff. But
What?
Cable, you have never seen Terminator? Any of them?
All right, you got to watch the first two and then forget all of the other ones.
Yes, 100%. Watch the first one just to get context for the second one, and then watch the second one because it's amazing. And then
I will say,
there's no more after that.
I will say, as much as I dislike all the other ones, I will say there are slight redeeming qualities in Terminator Genesis. I don't mind that one, but all the other ones are just utter trash, in my opinion.
Did you watch the same Terminator Genesis that I did?
Yeah, dude, I actually enjoyed it. A little bit. I mean, I'd probably give it like a 6 out of 10 still. Maybe a 5.5, but there are some redeeming qualities to it.
Okay, we have to agree to disagree on that one, 100%. That was an awful movie.
It was way better than Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines.
Oh, yeah,
Terminator Salvation is not that bad either with Christian Bale.
Terminator Salvation isn't that bad. The problem is that you kind of have to forget that it's a Terminator movie almost, because it's not your typical Terminator movie. It's more like a war.
Kind of removed from the.
It's a war movie. It's like an apocalypse war movie, and I think that's why that one didn't go over well. The only one that I kind of consider after 2 that had a potential for me was the most recent one, Dark Fate. It had an interesting.
Oh yeah, that one was not that bad.
It had an interesting idea. It just didn't pull it off. Like the whole perspective, and spoilers for this if you've not seen it. Like, as they bring back Sarah Connor, they bring in like Arnold Schwarzenegger's Terminator, but like literally they kill John Connor like in the opening scene of it.
Yeah.
And this whole other stuff kicks off, and it takes it in a whole route you're not expecting. It had the potential to be interesting. Hi, hey, redeeming that first there. Thank you so much. Hi, hey, first in the chat. I think I love the fact that people find that like so late in stream. Like I think Seal redeemed it on Friday, like an hour and a half into stream. He redeemed
like
first.
30 minutes.
But yeah, it's like there was potential in it, but yeah, the only ones worth watching are the first 2. Did not think we'd be getting a Terminator rant this morning, but that's how this show goes half the time.
The more that I think about Terminator Salvation, the more I remember liking it. And I think Terminator Salvation, correct me if I'm wrong, that's the one that ended up, again, spoilers, with him in the factory trying to destroy Cybernet in the factory, right? And he comes across the prime, like Arnold Schwarzenegger CGI Terminator.
Yeah.
That was sweet.
I had that. Okay, got to go take out the trash. No worries. Hey, thank you so much for the lark. I appreciate it. It ended like that. It had great potential. It's like I think that one was marred a lot as well though, because like it will forever be remembered as the movie that Christian Bale went off on a light sky.
Just went mental.
Like I know he tried to redeem himself with interviews after that, but when that got dropped, like that's forever going to be remembered as that movie that he went off on a light sky. And like
lost it.
He just ripped him a new one. But yeah, I think. But yeah, Terminator rant aside, I don't think there's any other kind of major news. There was that.
You're not missing. Yeah, you're not missing.
The only other major news was we got a kind of teaser dropped with a release date for the new Umbrella Academy season 3. Dropped. It literally dropped like an hour or 2 ago. It's literally just out. I literally just caught it before I came on because I was on social media. And season 3 is going to be dropping, I think it's June 22nd they said, so in a couple of months season 3 of Umbrella Academy is going to be dropping. If you've watched the show before, you know I'm a massive fan of the Umbrella Academy stuff. I love the comics, I love the show. I think I was actually planning Umbrella Academy as one of our indie comic book clubs for this year if we can time it properly, because it's a long-standing one I've enjoyed.
Yeah.
Massive fan of the series. I think they've killed the first 2 seasons. It's like they were phenomenal. Excited to see where they go with season 3 of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm hyped for this, man. Like I think like
That's awesome.
when Umbrella Academy came out on Netflix, especially the first season, I think I binged it in like a day.
I still haven't finished. I think I finished because they had 2 seasons out, right?
Yeah.
So I think I've finished the first season and I'm slightly into the second season, but I haven't finished it yet.
Yeah, I adore the Umbrella Academy stuff. I think it's phenomenal stuff. I think the comics are. I think the show's a little bit more grounded, as weird as that is to say with some of the stuff that happens in the show. The comics are definitely a bit more backcrap crazy of like, hey, let's do this.
Yeah.
Hey, this is a thing, you know, it's like it's definitely goes a bit more out there, which if you read any like Gerard Way stuff, that's kinda like up his alley. He's a bit mad with that stuff as well.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy was inspired a lot by Grant Morrison. That kind of tells you everything you need to know about his comic writing style if you've ever read any Grant Morrison stuff.
I haven't. I don't think. He does Superman. He does a lot of Superman, right?
He's done Superman. He's done a massive Batman run. He's done a GLA run. He's done tons of stuff for DC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, they released a Boys season 3 trailer too.
Yeah, that's right. The Boys season 3 drops.
Dude,
Well, I've not had a chance to see the trailer yet, but I've seen that.
It looks crazy, and a lot of stuff is spoiled, I think, in the trailer, so I wouldn't watch it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's right. That's
Just
dropping.
stay away from it.
Yeah, the only major
It's like
thing
I'm staying away from Doctor Strange.
Yeah, dude. Like, see if the chat spoils the thing I was about to tell you yesterday for that, then that's on their head. Be it. Like, it's been all over the internet.
Speaking of, don't spoil anything, Doctor Strange. I'm legitimately trying to go in fresh as I can.
He legit did not watch the last trailer. We literally had a conversation about this yesterday. Like, he has not watched the recent trailer.
You wanted to spoil it. I know. I could see your face.
Because I want to talk to you about it. It's, like, you're a reviewer.
Talk to you about it too.
We review this stuff. We can't just avoid stuff when it comes out on the internet and go like, oh, I don't want to see it before the movie. Like, that's literally our job. That's literally what we do, is talk about this stuff.
I'm not going to do that with everything. Just this one.
Okay,
because
no.
I know how
no, because you did this with Spider-Man as well, and like, if you start doing this with every Marvel movie, you're going to do this with like practically every movie we cover. Most of the movies we cover are Marvel.
No, it's just these. Because
I don't believe you. I don't believe you.
Spider-Man No Way Home, like having some of those reveals not be known going in was amazing in the theater. It was amazing.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and it's like, but like I don't get how you've missed this. It's literally been everywhere. I know you've muted stuff on Twitter, but
Dude,
still,
I'm telling you, I muted everything that has to do with anything that could possibly touch Doctor Strange. I muted.
I could just spoil it so easily right now, but I'm not going. I'm going to try and be a good friend. I know I can be a jackass, but I'm going to try and be a good friend in this moment. But yeah, so I think that's it. There's not really any other major stuff. It's not been a big news week actually, which I'm fine with. My week has been crazy hectic.
Dude.
Like we've been absolute craziness.
Yeah,
like,
you guys have been all over the place.
Jay busted her back. We had to take her to the urgent care and stuff like that, and she had to go to the doctor to be seen for her back and stuff. She's finally feeling better, thankfully.
Good.
We had to set up like flooring to come in to do our floors in the upper floor, and then like the Lowe's delivered our flooring without the floor. They delivered the underlay and the side parts, then we had to call them. It's like, we're meant to have like 25 boxes of like laminate flooring. Where is it? Couldn't find it. Jay ended up having to go up there and had to talk to them herself and go like that, like, where the hell's our flooring? And then they were missing a couple of boxes of it, and then it finally got delivered, but of course by the time it got delivered we'd already rescheduled like the guys to come out and put the flooring in, because like it was the day before the flooring was getting delivered.
So you haven't gotten it installed yet?
So we've got the flooring, the installers are coming on the 21st now, so
nice,
it's like
Dude, that's gonna be awesome.
Not this week, next week, so
yeah,
so it's going to be laminate, so like my Streamloom's going to have like laminate all over it, which is going to be so nice to like just move about in. I'm excited for that.
They do, dude.
Yeah, and then of course if you've seen on social media, I did post the pictures on social media. We had an amazing date day yesterday. I took Nitro out for a date. You know,
it was a mandate.
Yep, absolute mandate.
A couple women.
Couple of women tagged along with it, you know.
But it was just mainly for Mr. Cross on it.
Mainly for us. I mean, like, we literally said to each other, like, it's so weird seeing each other in person yesterday.
Dude, it was crazy.
Like, we literally do not see each other in person that much.
Legitimately, over the past year, I may have seen an hour of you in person. Maybe.
Maybe, like, because I think even like going to the cinema, we've never even like going to see movies. We've never even been able to sync up as frequently as we used to do.
We did go to the movie maybe once last year together, but like, all right, let's say 5 hours total all last year. Maybe.
Yeah, something like that. Because like we went to see Spider-Man separately. We went to see the Batman separately. We've not really hung out. Like, this is how we talk to each other. It's like we're literally like we message each other through the week, but we talk here on the show.
Yeah.
And it's like, so yeah, seeing each other in person yesterday was absolutely insane, to be completely honest. We got to go, we did a double day, took the ladies out for a nice day, and we actually went to an escape room that's local near us. And
we crushed it.
It was such a blast. It was called It was called the Magic Lamp. And basically the setup for it was, you have an hour in the escape room, and it was a genie has to grant up to 1,000 wishes within 500 years. If they do not do this, then they get another 500 years put onto their time in the lamp. So this genie had granted 1,000 wishes, but had lost the details of the last one, like the proof of the last wish, and there was like an hour left of his like 500 years. So we've got down to the last hour of the wire to basically solve the clues in the room and find and work out what the last wish was. And we managed to pull it off.
Like
with
3 minutes
3 minutes left of the hour. We managed to pull it off.
There was like chests with combination locks on them and puzzles.
Oh yeah, there was chests with number locks and with
crazy.
word locks. There was words and stuff around. Like, you had to look around for clues to open. Like, there was a picture lock, and you had to look at dangling clues to find the right one.
Like, it was really appropriate us going into talking about Batman with the Riddler. It felt like that.
It was just utter proof of like why I would hate to face the Riddler, because I hate riddles. I just can never work them out. I suck at that sort of stuff. But like, there was pictures with like buttons to press, and you had to look around the different rooms for different numbers clues, and like there was slides and tunnels and all this other stuff. And
the slide was sweet.
The slide was really fun. But yeah, it was a whole blast. Let me throw it up on the screen for those that are watching.
It was a lot of fun,
we got to take a victory picture of us. That was the tree in the centre of the room with like all the wishes hanging from it. So that was us and our lovely wives, with of course Jay, who you know as well, and then that's Mrs. Nitro, who I don't think we've seen on screens since like.
We've seen her once in the 12-hour stream last year.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think we've seen her since the 12-hour stream. I think that was literally the last time. But that's us in our victory there. That's us celebrating. It was a lot of fun. Pull us back up.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun, man.
That was a blast, and we got to go and just hang out, have lunch, just chill out, and it was a really cool day just to relax. Also, as well, in that picture as today, if I can point out, sporting the new Comics of the Cross merchandise, which
and
is...
I gave Cross a hard time. I'm like, dude, we're about to go into spring. Why would you order a hoodie? And I don't know. I mean, where we are on the East Coast, it snowed like 3 inches yesterday, so that was fun.
Yeah, literally woke up yesterday to not bad weather, to turning into like torrential downpour, to turning into snow by the time we left, and then by the time we came out of the freaking like escape room and went to go and have lunch, it was like already laying like a few inches deep, and I'm like, this is insane. And I'm like, and you have the cheek to say to be like, so what's the point in buying a hoodie? Like, you're not going to use it until like, you know, end of the year when we get back into the cold weather. Like, literally snowfall, freezing temperatures.
Like the day after you got it.
I know, it was perfect timing.
Thanks God.
But massive shout out to our merch line, Stream Elements is our new merch store, and this merch is sweet, by the way. Like, I was not expecting stuff to be this good quality made, based upon our last store that we used. We were using Teespring before,
and I saw it in person, and it is like, a lot of times when merch stores will blow up the logos and stuff like that, it gets super grainy, super pixelated, and it looks crystal clear.
Yeah, the logo
really
looks
crisp.
I mean, the logo looks phenomenal on this.
And
the
quality is really good on the sweatshirt too.
It's well worth
I was
checking.
touching Cross's arm a lot yesterday.
Yeah, he couldn't help himself, you know.
I know, I couldn't.
Whether or not I had the hoodie on or not, he was just doing it. It was kind of weird when their wives were sitting there, but you know,
I know, right? I just did it when they couldn't see it.
But yeah, so the link's up there in the chat if you want to go and check out the merch for yourself. We have got hoodies up there like this one. We also have short sleeve, long sleeve t-shirts. We have women's tees, and we also have computer gaming pads, gaming mouse pads up there as well now. So go and check them out for yourself, and we are super excited. We're going to be having some new merch coming to the store as well. With really exciting pieces coming to the store that I cannot wait for. It's going to be absolutely awesome, man. Yeah, man. Need to get one of the mugs. It's like that's one of the things I don't have yet. But I
Yeah,
bought
we
it.
got some really cool ideas for merch coming up, man. It's gonna be awesome.
So yeah, it's going to be awesome, guys. So definitely check out our merch store if you want to pick up some of the Comics in the Cross merchandise, show your loyalty and love to the Comic Clan. And then I think the only major thing just to point out as well to say to you, because I posted it online yesterday, I was absolutely shocked. We are literally like 8 followers away from 600 followers.
That's crazy, man. I remember when we were shooting for 100.
Yeah, I remember when we first started off and we were like, oh man, imagine if we hit 100 followers, that'd be so cool. And
Yeah.
you guys just kept showing up and kept dropping follows, kept hanging out
You guys
with
are
us,
beasts.
and I appreciate it so much for all of you
Yeah,
just
we
doing
really
that.
appreciate it. This is
It's like,
awesome.
it's
This is really
absolutely
cool.
phenomenal, and it's like,
We've met some really awesome people, man. Through
yeah,
this.
we have met so many amazing people through actually doing this and doing Comics in the Cross. It's like we've got a phenomenal community. I absolutely adore all of you
And
guys.
we've been doing
and
this for 2 years, man.
I know,
Years.
2 years, man.
Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy to think of. Like 2 years.
It started from a conversation. It started from an idea that you had, and then a conversation that we had in the middle of a hallway at church.
Yeah. Literally, we just had a conversation, and from there it just kind of blew up and took off. And we wanted to create a place for people to come and just chat comics and hang out. And apparently, a bunch of people wanted to come hang out with us, and it's pretty phenomenal, you know.
Yeah, this is awesome.
So yeah, so massive shout out to all of you. Thank you for everyone who has dropped us follows, who's dropped us subs, who's bought our merchandise, who's followed us on social media and subscribed in YouTube and all this stuff, and just everywhere that you guys have came out and supported us. Thank you so much. We greatly appreciate it.
Really do.
I just want to take the chance to shout that out this morning with us being at where we are. You know, it's like 600. That's nuts.
We're so close.
I know, that's absolutely nuts. Alright, we don't really have much news and we've rambled for quite long enough, so we are going to go talking about the Batman. We're finally getting it for while that you're hanging out with us to hear our
Let's do
thoughts
it.
and opinions and talk about it. So
do
for
it.
anyone who has not seen it, this is that spoiler warning, last spoiler warning. We're going into full conversation here, full blown spoilers for the Batman.
3, 2, 1. Batman dies. All right, let's go. Let's go
Yep.
from there.
Just to kick it off from there, that's it, man. But alright, so initial thoughts of the movie before we delve into the details. What were your thoughts going into this? What were your
All right.
thoughts when you seen the trailers for this? If you watched the trailers, because apparently you don't watch trailers.
I did
Um,
watch the trailers for Batman
and
because I
then-
don't care about DC. I'm just joking. That was mean.
Wow! It's okay. We don't care about DC movies. Like, of course not. They don't.
Oh, I know they don't either. So why should I? So all right, yeah. So all right, so I did watch all the trailers. I watched all the TV spots for this. I love Batman. He's probably one of my favorite comic book characters. He was one of the few that I grew up with. Spider-Man, Ghost Rider, Spawn, Batman. Those are my core that I grew up with. And I went in. Obviously, the review embargo released several days before the movie.
Mhm.
So you had everybody saying, "This is the greatest comic book movie I've ever seen." And whenever I see that, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
But I saw that a lot, like consistently, constantly. I saw it a lot, and like, this is the best Batman movie. This is the best comic book movie. This is phenomenal. It's gonna be groundbreaking. Blah 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 blah. So, for me, it was really hard going into the movie with low expectations.
Oh
So I
yeah.
went-
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, I don't think I've seen a single review that wasn't like a 9 or a 10 out of 10.
I know.
Like it was
So,
it was nuts.
and I want to like Batman movies. I'm a fan. Like my first introduction to Batman was 1989 Michael Keaton Batman. That was my intro to Batman, and then the comics. So I love Batman. I've always liked Batman ever since I was little. I went in really, really high expectations, and I'm gonna be honest, I was a little bit disappointed when I left. Now, that being said, you and I have talked about this a lot ad nauseum. That being said, I did not like the movie. I thought it was a good movie. And I remember saying this to you the night I got home. I said I'd probably give it a 7.5 out of 10, and I would say it's in my middle top of Batman movies. Because for me, and I'll even say this, it's better than a good chunk of MCU movies.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
I don't think it's anywhere close to being the best Batman movie.
Oh no.
I think The Dark Knight takes the cake by miles, and I even think Batman Begins is better. It might be number 3 for me because it's really good. It just wasn't as good as I had hoped and thought it was going to be when I went in. I guess just because of my expectations. But yeah, so that like just overall thoughts. I really like the movie. I like how they did a lot of things that they've never done in a Batman movie. A lot of the action scenes were just phenomenal. And I know you and I talked about this specifically, but I really, really liked the opening to the movie. I thought it set the movie and it hooked you to the movie immediately within the first 15 minutes. So I liked it. For me, well, I'll rate it at the end of the stream.
Yeah,
For
we'll
me,
rate,
I
we'll
really
rate
liked it. Yeah, I really liked it. I had some issues with it, obviously, but I really liked it.
Yeah. See, I think I'm kind of in between. I think I'm in between where you are. I think I definitely enjoyed it more than you, at least from the conversations we've had. But I definitely don't put it as high as everyone else. By no means is this the best comic book movie ever.
No.
Not even close.
Not even close.
Like literally, like I can literally point out last comic book movie I watched before this, Spider-Man No Way Home, like a few months ago.
Yeah.
Phenomenally better.
Yeah.
And I definitely don't think it's the best Batman movie. Don't get me wrong, I by no means look at The Dark Knight as a perfect movie. There's definitely some things in that I can look at, especially like, 10 years on, I can look at that and go like that. Yeah, there's definitely some things that aren't quite. But I would easily rank Dark Knight as like a 9. It's definitely up there. I would probably put The Batman at about an 8 or an 8.5.
Okay.
It's
So
up
we're
there.
not that far off.
Yeah, we're not that far. It's like, because that's the thing, because like 7 or 8 sounds low compared to what everyone else is saying. But judging it in the case of like, if I'm saying like, well, Dark Knight isn't perfect, I would put it as about a 9. Because it is a phenomenal movie.
Yeah.
And it definitely wasn't up there, but it wasn't at that level. But the Batman was like, for me, is definitely a number 2. It's right below it.
Yeah.
I definitely thoroughly enjoyed this. I was nervous coming into this. Partially, I was nervous because a little bit of Robert Pattinson, because I wasn't sure how he was going to. Cable was saying I'd say 8 to 8.5 as well for the Batman. Yeah, it's like it wasn't the best ever, but it was still really good.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that.
I was nervous at Pattinson coming into this role. I didn't know how he was going to do.
I didn't think he had the size or the chops to.
And I'll be honest, like
Batman.
I'll be honest, a part of that is because I've not seen a lot of his movies. Like I know him as the kid for Twilight. Like that's where I see his face from. I've seen a couple of things. I think the only thing I've seen with him really in it since then, like I've still to even watch Tenet. I never got a chance to even sit down and watch that. Life has been so crazy. I know I've got the streaming service it's on, but I've just not had a chance to watch it. I think it was like The Lighthouse with Willem Dafoe.
Yeah, dude.
Which is which is a back crap.
It's a
crazy movie. Watching it, especially with the two of them.
It's just the two of them, and he's phenomenal in it. He's phenomenal.
He is an amazing. Yep, the Kibo said earlier, The Lighthouse. He and Willem
Agreed.
Dafoe and Pattinson holds his own. Absolutely, Kibo. The two of them are phenomenal. Two amazing actors playing off each other.
Like you said in Tenet too. He's really good in that.
Yeah, so it's like I'd heard people saying how good he was now, and I'm like, okay, that gives me some hope. But there's a different level when it comes to pulling off a character like Batman, who is not just a superhero, not just like the most popular superhero in the world, but like a pop culture icon. Everyone knows who Batman is. Everyone knows Batman's story. And then the trailers dropped, and I was like, I didn't know how I felt. Like the Batsuit, I wasn't completely sold on. I always felt the cowl looked weird. I've said this plenty of times. The cowl looks a bit dodgy. Yeah. I will be honest, it won me over. As the movie went on, I got really into it.
What did you? I need to know what your opinion was on the Batmobile, because I know you weren't a fan at all.
I wasn't a fan when I first seen it, but getting into the movie and realizing what stage of Batman's life he was at, it makes
works.
sense.
Yeah,
it works because it's like it's set in the year 2 of him being Batman. It makes sense that he doesn't have like a full blown Batmobile. He's not a seasoned pro yet. He's just got a jacked up muscle car, and I'm like, that makes sense for what he can do with it. It makes sense. Like you don't need more bells and whistles than that.
A lot of the issues that I had with the movie, I think, might be due to the fact that I was missing a little context about where we were in the Batman journey. Like, I didn't know, I don't know what his relationship with Commissioner Gordon is. Like, I don't know how he's portrayed, what the public perceives Bruce Wayne as. Like, I felt like a lot of that, in my opinion, was missing. But to your point that you told me, like, you and I have had conversations, that's the purpose of the movie. Like, that's not the focus of the movie. The focus is his obsession for being Batman.
Yeah. I think that's the thing. Like, I had to know where he was. I had to know, like, just knowing that this isn't a seasoned Batman, because that's the thing. It actually makes more sense like this. Because if you take something like Batman Begins, like the other origin movie, because like there's not really been another Batman origin movie. We've seen his parents die, we've seen him in that, but then it always cuts to, and here's an established Batman that can do all this stuff.
Yeah.
Even in Batman Begins, it was like all of a sudden like he can do all this stuff and has all these gadgets, and it's just, oh, I'm going to do this stuff now. Mm-hmm. This was a Batman who's at the very beginning, who is still processing it.
Yeah.
So the way the Batmobile looked, the style of the costume, like even Cable was saying that, like the cowl looks dodgy, but it's only year 2, so it kind of works. Yeah. You know, like his relationship, like a lot of people don't believe he exists, or like he shows up in that group of gang at the very start of the movie.
Yeah.
They don't know who he is. Mm-hmm. So you see some people running scared for the bat signal, but there's others that are like, who the hell are you?
Yeah.
Like, you know, I mean, he's not established. Jim Gordon kind of knows him and brings him into the crime scene at the very beginning, but like there's not that established relationship yet.
Could we say Jeffrey Wright killed it as Gordon?
He was. I was really unsure when it started. I was watching him like at the very beginning of it, and I was like, oh, I don't know how I'm gonna like him as Gordon. I wasn't quite feeling it right off the bat. Yeah. But very quickly, like as he started to roll with it, I'm like, he's so good, phenomenal. Man. He was such a good Commissioner Gordon.
I'm such a fan of Gary Oldman as Gordon.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I love Gary Oldman as Gordon, so I'm like, I can't say Jeffrey Wright's my favourite, but he was definitely a great casting. Same with like a lot of the casting was phenomenal for this though.
I feel like Gary Oldman brings that fire that Jim Gordon had, like in the animated series and in the films. Like Jim Gordon will bust your head open. But I felt like Jeffrey Wright brought the softer side, the more like almost like a fatherly side. I don't know. That sounds really weird.
Well, yeah, because like he's just a detective at that point. He's still just a detective. He's trying to do the right thing. He's playing it like at the very beginning with the Batman. It's like, do I trust this guy? Is this guy worthwhile trusting? I'm putting my career on the line for this dude. It's like, but this has definitely got some phenomenal stuff to it. I'm just trying to catch chat here. Ravenite saying Pattinson prepared for his role as a broody and depressed Batman by being known as a Twilight guy for 14 years. Yeah, that made me broody and depressed as well, to be completely honest. But Kibo saying Gary Oldman just looked so much like Jim too. Absolutely. I mean, that's it. You look at Commissioner Gordon in those movies, and it's like it's Jim Gordon. Gary Oldman looks what I would imagine Jim Gordon. He looks like he's been lifted right out of the animated series.
You know, I'll be honest. I wasn't mad at J.K. Simmons as Jim Gordon either.
No, that was a pretty decent cast. I feel bad for him that we didn't get to see him a lot. Apparently, we're going to get to see him with the Batgirl movie, and they're bringing him back for that. Apparently, it's like, but like we've literally not had a chance to even see him in the role, so it's kind of sad. But at the same time, I'm like, him as Jim Gordon, I'd just stick to being freaking J. Jonah Jameson. Like, that's who you are, man. That's who you are in the comic book world.
He played J. Jonah Jameson.
I am so hyped.
So sweet.
That's so sweet. I'll never get over the fact that he came back.
That's like geek royalty.
Man. Absolutely, man. And do you want to mention that as well? He's played both of them, and then of course he's played a superhero himself. He played Omni-Man.
Oh yeah, that's
and
right.
Invincible. So I'm like, you're.
Well, and he's played J. Jonah Jameson in multiple universes. Even. Like that's crazy.
Like it's insane. Like the dude's phenomenal.
But I will say, so another good thing that I wanted to point out with this, I know we're talking about Pattinson a lot. I think the thing that I was worried about the most.
Well, let's get into that. Let's transition because we talked kind of about our thing. So let's start transition into talking about our casting for it, like what we thought of the casting and the people in the roles. So we talked a little bit about Jeffrey Wright. So let's also delve into some of the other casting and stuff because we're kind of going that direction.
Let's pop over to Pattinson. So I think one of the main concerns that I had was he's not really known for being like just this aggressive, type A type person. He's meant to be like this. He's always been portrayed as this passive, maybe quirky type of character. And I was concerned that he wasn't going to be able to fill the shoes of Batman. Like Batman just needs to be like ruthless.
Yeah.
And within the first 15 minutes, I was
that opening scene
because he beat the bejesus out of just an entire group of thugs.
That opening scene with that group of thugs was brutal, man.
Dude, it was awesome.
Awesome, but it's like, yep, he's got it. He's good.
Yeah, he was unexpectedly intimidating and savage, and I appreciated it.
I wasn't sure how I was going to take him as Batman, but as the movie went on, I felt like he really by the end of the movie, I was looking at him in the bat suit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's Batman. Can I just say as well, by the way, I don't say this often about men taking on the leading roles, but that man has a magnificent jawline.
He does.
That jawline in the cowl, like
it was personally.
Dang, that looked amazing.
Himself.
He looked good in the bat suit. He looked awesome. He portrayed the role. I love the fact he has a Batman voice without doing the Christian Bale Batman voice.
See, all right, and I know we talked about this too. We've talked a lot about this stuff, but one of the things that I really, really liked about Ben Affleck's Batman was I thought the modulated voice thing and his cowl was genius.
Mm-hmm.
It was genius because it was a way to make him more intimidating without making him sound dumb like Christian Bale in The Dark Knight and Batman Begins. Like that was just dumb.
Can I just like give praise as well to Robert Pattinson for his, because he doesn't have a modulator in this like Affleck did. This was just his voice, but yet when he played just as Bruce Wayne, his voice sounded completely different to when he was in the bat suit, but yet they both sounded natural.
Yeah,
it didn't sound like he was putting on a voice, didn't he? He had to go take his medicine. It's like
it's in my hockey pants.
It's like it sounded like a normal voice.
Yeah.
Like literally, you could listen to them both side by side and not realize it's the same person. Like he made it sound so natural, and I absolutely adore it. Like I was won over by his Batman.
Yeah. I think one of the so leading into this, so I guess kind of one of the issues that I had with the movie, kind of had to do with Pattinson as well, but not necessarily as much as him, as much as just how they portray the character of Batman / Bruce Wayne. So like when I come into a Batman movie, I want to see both sides of the coin, because for me, being able to see the Bruce Wayne side of Batman, that's his mask, right? Bruce Wayne is his mask. We've
talked about that in the show plenty of times.
Yeah,
Batman is who he is, and
just
Bruce
like
Wayne's
Superman,
the fake.
Yeah, just like Superman is Superman, Clark Kent is his disguise, right?
See, that's what I would actually argue, and that's what makes them different. That's what I would argue on, is that Batman is actually who he is. Bruce Wayne died in the alley with his parents. He is Batman. Whereas Superman is the persona he puts on, but deep down he is actually Clark Kent.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Like that's what I would say. Like deep down, he was raised by the Kents. He is Clark Kent. He just happens to be super. Whereas like Bruce is Batman. He doesn't function like a normal person anymore.
Yeah,
like,
that makes sense.
That's what I would say for that. And it's like, see, I think this is where you and I disagree as well in terms of like the portrayal of Bruce Wayne in this, because this portrayal of Bruce Wayne, for year 2 of him being Batman, his parents have been dead for 20 years.
Yeah.
He's been Batman for 2. This version of Bruce makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
And the reason I believe that is because Batman is driven by the death of his parents. That's the thing that has driven him forever. He has never processed it. He has never dealt with it. He has never gotten over it. And that is the driving force behind him. That's why he is not a normal person. That is why he can't function like a normal person. And we see that juxtaposed with, at least in the comics, because the movies have sucked at it, with like Nightwing.
Yeah.
It's because Nightwing was on the path to become the very next version of Batman, except Bruce helped him get over the death of his parents and over that loss and work through that, so that he actually became a normal everyday person that's able to, have social skills and talk to people. Whereas like Bruce has forever been in this foreboding stage. There's other stuff he can add himself to, but I think Robert Pattinson's Bruce Wayne very much showed that.
Yeah, you see, I don't know if I necessarily had an issue.
2 years into being Batman, he's like driven by nothing but it. Like, I mean, like literally we see it in the opening scenes. Like he comes home to the Batcave, and literally the first thing he does is take out his contacts where he's recorded everything, and starts watching it on playback and taking notes. Like that, and in my head, I'm like, that is actually very Batman, because Batman does not switch off. He can't come home and just relax. He can't come home and just put his feet up. It's like, no, this is what he does. He lives, eats, and breathes this stuff. He is incapable of not. It's like an obsession. And it's like, I think this version of it, because usually in other versions we've seen it balanced with other stuff, because he's more established, so he's balanced. I still have to be Bruce Wayne. I still have to pretend I'm running a company and actually give a toss about all of that stuff. Whereas this one was like, he literally even says it to Alfred, which, shout out to Andy Serkis as Alfred, by the way. Phenomenal casting as that as well. He says it to him like, he's like, you got this business meeting. It's like, why are they coming here? Like, because I can't get you to go to the office. Yeah. So they're going to come here for the meeting, and he literally tells him, I don't care. And even the fact of like, he says to him at one point, like, he's trying to, like, Alfred's trying to help and encourage him, and he's like, you're not my father. It sounded like such a kid, but that's the point. Mentally he still is a kid that has never gotten over his parents' death. So he's still processing that, and to a certain extent will never process through it. So I think they encapsulated that. I think when we start to see him mature, that'll change.
Yeah.
But for this stage, I think it got the nail on the head. At least that's my perspective on it.
Yeah, I mean, that what you're saying makes a lot of sense, and gives me a new lens to look at it now. But even so, I don't know if I necessarily had an issue with how Bruce Wayne was portrayed. I just wanted to see more of it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that made sense. I know.
Yeah, I can get that. I can get that.
I know it's a Batman movie, and the movie is a Batman movie. He is Batman.
Yeah.
He's Batman 90% of the time.
Oh yeah, he barely takes that cowl off. He's in that suit the whole time.
That's what I'm saying. I don't mind seeing the obsessed Batman. I love that. I don't mind seeing the not being able to turn it off. I love that. But show me more of the other side. Show me more of his obsession outside of the cowl. I want more interaction between him and Alfred. I want more Batcave stuff. I want more
Yeah, I get you.
How the public perceives Bruce while he's in that
you want more him processing and dealing with stuff in the Batcave instead of just standing on that rooftop where the bat signal is for 5 different scenes throughout the movie.
That's another issue that I had. He literally just walked around half the movie just staring at stuff, which I get. He was recording context, but I'm like, come on, man.
I did have to kind of laugh, to be honest, at one point. They go like that. It's like, well, where should we meet? And in my head, before it even cut scene, they're going to that rooftop because that's the only place he goes in the whole movie. Is that freaking rooftop where the bat signal is?
But I wanted to see more. Again, he doesn't. I don't need him to be this multi-billionaire running a company like Christian Bale was in Dark Knight, or that type stuff. I don't need that. But I want to see. what the public sees. Put me in the public's shoes, how they perceive Bruce Wayne in this.
See, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
That's I know I said this to you, but to me, that's like seeing a James Bond movie without Q in it.
But see, that helps kind of give my perspective on where you're coming from, because it was we need that Bruce Wayne side of things. So but the Bruce Wayne we got makes sense though, and it's but that makes sense. You're saying you just wanted to see more of it.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, that I didn't totally get that perspective when you'd mentioned it before, but that makes sense. That
because like you said, the entire point of the movie was he is obsessed. Nothing's gonna turn that off. He is single focused.
Yeah.
So he does have to be public at some points. I want to see that facade. I want to see what that facade looks like that he has to put on.
And that makes sense.
They showed a little bit of that at at the funeral.
I think we'll get to see more of that in later movies, because I think the driving force in this a lot was the fact of he didn't care about anything else. He was so obsessed with this.
Yeah.
And but we did, like you said, we did get to see him driven out and he was Batman. If you want to see Batman, he is every time he's on screen, he's in that costume.
Yeah.
I think there's 3 or 4 scenes that I can think of where he's massively not, stuff where he goes to the Iceberg Lounge at one point, and when he goes to the hospital bed and stuff with Alfred, and he goes to all this stuff. There's scenes where he's not, but they are so few and far between.
Dude, can I talk about the one scene where he just walks up into the club in full Batman attire?
We'll
so sweet.
We'll get to that stuff. Let's keep going with the casting, because we've done those two. Those are major. We've got some major. Let's start talking kind of villains as well for this, because I want to talk. We'll get to some of the others later, but I want to talk about Paul Dano, as the Riddler, because he's the big bad for this one. He's the big bad for this. He's if you've seen the trailers, you've seen it. The Riddler played very much like a Zodiac killer-esque nut job, as opposed to your typical kind of suave trying to talk and I'm cool and impressive Riddler.
Villain on film for Batman for me.
Yeah.
If not number 2, very, very close number 3.
I really like this interpretation of Riddler.
Yeah.
It's very different from the usual Riddler that we've come to know.
But it works.
But I don't think the regular Riddler is that interesting of a villain.
No.
Because apart from leaving clues and leaving puzzles, it's what are you doing? It's I set this thing up and you have to solve this riddle to get it, and I'm even if you ever watch me play the Arkham games on Tuesday nights, I am not in any way trying to do the Riddler stuff in those games. I do not care. I don't solve these riddles and find these trophies. No.
Nope.
Go away.
I'm good.
I'm sorry you're bored, but leave me alone. I'm actually trying to do stuff here. It's but this version of Riddler felt like a threat.
He was scary.
He was an absolute psychopath. That opening scene that you talked about, at first, I'm not going to lie, at first when that first scene opened up, I started to feel like it might have started dragging a little too long, the binocular scene.
Yeah.
Because we're watching through binoculars, this family, and he held on those binoculars through the camera for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was at least a good few minutes of just looking through them, and I was like, okay, I get it. He's watching his family do something else. That you could literally cut a minute of that out, and we wouldn't have lost the effect.
Yeah.
But see that scene, like he's watching like the polls and stuff like that, and what's happening, and he's talking to someone about his his numbers and stuff, and blah blah blah, all the usual political stuff that we don't actually care about.
Yeah.
See when he's on the phone and he just like starts walking to the right, and all of a sudden Riddler's there. Like you legitimately did not see him behind him, but you know he's been standing there the whole time.
Yeah.
And he walks off, and he keeps walking back and forth talking, and Riddler just doesn't move.
Yeah.
And it's just
the guy
watching
doesn't know
him.
He's there. You just see his glasses are like.
And then out of nowhere, boom! It smacks him. Like he goes from like calm, silent watching to like psychopath smacking the crap out of him. And then it's like, tapes his head up and writes no more lies on it, like and duct tapes him, and like it's like, oh my goodness! Like we're getting like a proper like slasher horror villain here.
Yeah.
Like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, he was really intimidating, and he was really scary. I really liked it. Like I said, he's probably the top 2 or 3 villain for me in all the Batman movies.
Oh yeah, Ravenite saying as well, that scene as well at the end, like jumping at the end because it's a phenomenal scene when he catches him, but the interrogation room, like he wants to see Batman. Yeah. And Batman goes to see him, and Riddler has had this crazy thing of like their partners working together, and he keeps saying Bruce Wayne. And you're like, crap, he's worked out who he is. Holy crap, he's worked out who he is. Because there's a little hint in his apartment that he's like, he might have worked it out. Yeah. And he keeps saying it, and then he says Bruce Wayne's the only one that got away of the people he tried to kill through the movie. And you're like, oh my goodness. It's so well played.
Yeah.
And I love the fact of like when they take the mask off him, and we finally see his face at the end when they catch him, that he looks so unassuming.
Yeah.
He looks like a normal, average little nerd that would work a computer desk job and not be a threat to anyone.
Yeah.
It's like he is so well played. He is so well done, and I'm like, it's like, bravo for that version of the Riddler. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Really, really good. Yeah, he was a really good Batman villain. Like,
I loved it because like he came across as a threat, taking out the different people and different political people. But also the riddles they set up were totally in line. They were tough riddles. You had to work it out to find out the next thing and lead on to other clues. And like even when he sends the guy, like what is it, the DA, when like he crashes into the funeral with a bomb attached to him, and he's like, "I'll turn the bomb off, but you have to answer riddles." Like he's standing there like riddling him stuff.
Yeah.
While the bomb's attached to him and all that, like it's so well played, and Paul Dano does a phenomenal job of getting across. Of juxtaposing this psychopath on one side with a mask on, and this mild-mannered guy you wouldn't look at twice with it off. Like it was phenomenal acting from Paul Dano. Perfect casting.
He was really good, and like the juxtaposition of the opening scene, because it focuses on Batman and Riddler, and them doing their skulking basically, and it's just really cool.
Yeah, my only issue with the whole story with the Riddler was they decided for some reason for like 30 minutes of the movie he wasn't important, or like an hour of the movie he wasn't important.
Yeah.
Because they dropped the whole thing of like finding the rat as like the second or third clue, like Riddle that he dropped, and it was like finding the rat and bringing them into the light. And the whole stuff starts with that. And then like they literally forget Riddler exists for like an hour of the movie.
Yeah.
Well, they focus on Penguin because they think he's the rat, and they focus on like him working for Falcone and all this stuff, and like they focus on all of that stuff, and then all of a sudden at the very end, like Falcone gets shot under the streetlight, and you look up and it's Riddler. And it's like, oh yeah, he was a villain in this. I forgot about him. He's been gone for so long. I'm like, oh, that's right, he exists. But yeah, Paul Dano, phenomenal. Well done.
All right. Catwoman, Zoe Kravitz, thoughts?
I really liked Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman.
Yeah.
I thought she played it really well. I thought it was done phenomenally. You could just feel the chemistry between her and Robert Pattinson.
Yeah, I do agree on that.
The sexual tension between them as the movie built together was like, that chemistry is phenomenal. You know how you see certain couples that play off each other and you can just feel the chemistry? Like, yeah, they were phenomenal together.
One thing Miss Nitro said, because I was asking her opinion a little earlier today, because she really dug it too, and I drag her to all comic movies that I see. So, but she was like, one of the things that she really appreciated about the movie was just his absolute obsession with being Batman, just absolute driving obsession. Nothing mattered, and she said even he was using Catwoman as a tool to get what he needed.
Absolutely.
Like at the beginning, obviously, and at the end, you definitely see that, but even. You could tell, like, she's super into him, and he's like, that's not even on my radar right now. I'm just trying to figure out.
You can see
at the very end,
you can see his wall breaking down as it goes on later.
Yeah.
And not to mention the fact that she freaking kissed him, and with a kiss like that, I'm like, yeah, I bet he started thinking a bit differently after that kiss, man. But yeah, but right at the beginning, like, even the thing, like, she's looking for her friend, and he's like, no, that's not what I'm bringing you in for. Like, you're going in and you're getting me information, you're doing this, and it's like, she was phenomenally cast. She had the right level of charisma, the right level of sass, the right level of flirty sex appeal, the right level of danger that you need to mix to get what feels like a real Catwoman. She felt like she was a threat in a fight, but she also felt like she was intelligent as well, but also enough that, like, she's not as intelligent and strong and that as Batman. Because the whole point is he is that way because he's obsessed and has done nothing but train and think and plan and all this stuff, so it's not like overly obsessive, so it's like she's on his level, but yet she's definitely an equal to him at the same time. Like, as they managed to get a great connection. The only issue I had with her whole character was literally the stupid plot point of why is she so obsessed with this? Like, because Falcone's my father.
Yeah. It did nothing.
Literally, you could take that plot point out of the movie and nothing changes.
Yeah.
Like, she can have the same drive to go after him because he killed my friend.
Yeah.
And stuffed her in a car trunk.
I would even...
Like,
right, so Raven Knight said, I think she did an amazing as Catwoman. I do as well. Like, I think she was a phenomenal Catwoman. I wanted to see more of her. My wife was saying... And I don't know if I disagree with her. She was saying you could take the Penguin and Catwoman out of the movie and it wouldn't really impact it that much.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. I would agree with that, but I don't think the point of them was to impact the movie in that way. Yeah. Like, Riddler was the bad guy. Falcone was the driving behind the story that kind of worked along with it. Them being in the movie, for me, was literally as world building.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like, I like the fact of, like, in previous Batman movies, especially if you go back to the early ones, the Tim Burton and the Joel Schumacher ones, it was like, Joker, no one else. Penguin and Catwoman, no one else.
Yeah.
Riddler and Two-Face, no one else. Mr. Freeze, Poison Ivy, like that. I like the fact that there's this world of, like, him following the clues to be a detective leads him to the iceberg lounge. And you go to the Iceberg Lounge, Penguin's there working with Falcone. Is he a massive plot point in this? No. But of course he's there. He's a gangster. He's working with the gangsters. If you start crossing that path, he's over there. Catwoman is tied up in that as well. Her friend gets caught up. Is she a major plot point? Yeah, no, kind of. She's kind of in between. Because, like, she's a driving force partner for him, but also kind of not. But the whole point is to build it. Like, Penguin's not in it to be a threat. He's in it for a little bit. Especially with the whole rat thing, especially with the phenomenal Batmobile chase scene.
Oh man, that's one of the best scenes of the whole movie.
But he's not there to be a threat. But at the same time, like, if you go into the next movie, you could easily say Penguin's the new villain for this one and go, oh, okay. And you can automatically jump over, like, the introduction of who Penguin is because we already know who Penguin is.
That's a good point.
It's more world building to that. And I like it. Because in comic book movies, you don't always get that you get in comics of, like...
Yeah.
Even in some of the Marvel movies, like, you can question it. Maybe not so much now because there's a lot of crossover, but, like, even by Phase 2...
Yeah.
Like, certain stuff happens and you go, like, if, like, Winter Soldier, for example. Phenomenal movie. Where the hell is Iron Man and Thor and Hulk when Hydra's a threat? Why are you not calling in these people that you have fought side by side with to save the world? Why are they not involved? Because they exist in this world and this is a worldwide threat and they're also being targeted.
Yeah.
So why are they not being called in? It's like, but with, like, the Batman, that's what I liked. We might not be doing, like, massive DC world building, but in terms of, like, Gotham world building, all these villains exist in Gotham, so of course you're going to come across them. Even the hints of like, it's like as much as I really hope we don't get him in the next movie, the Joker hint at the very end, like
Barry Keoghan, right?
yeah, like there's a Joker like hint established there. We know Penguin exists in this world, Catwoman exists. You've got like 5 or 6 like major like villains or enemies of Batman all existing at the same time because well they do.
Yeah.
You might not fight them all, but
I would have liked to see more of Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman, and the same thing with Penguin. I liked the Penguin more than I did Catwoman, although Catwoman was phenomenal. I felt like Colin Farrell just.
I could watch that movie 100 times and never be able to tell that was Colin Farrell unless they told me.
Obviously, I knew it going in, but I remember I was staring at him on screen, and I'm like, dude, I can't see it. I can't hear it. I can't see it. Like, I can maybe hear it occasionally.
He doesn't even sound like him, though. Like, his face looks completely different, and then I heard his voice, and I'm like, that does not sound like him.
Dude, there's a story, though, when he got into the makeup the first time. He went to a coffee shop and ordered a coffee shop as the Penguin with the accent, and nobody knew. Jeffrey Wright even walked by him and didn't even know who he was.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal. And, yeah, absolutely, Kibo. Like, I forgot it was Colin Farrell. And don't worry, we're going to get on to talking about the Joker tease at the end. We've got some thoughts on that one. But yeah, I forgot it was Colin Farrell. But like, that was phenomenal. Even the way they underplayed him, because I like the fact of like it's year 2, so like he's not the established mob boss yet. He's just a right hand man. I like that he's not running it yet, but he's also still very informed. He's still very big up, doing a lot of stuff. I love the fact that he's getting involved with and he's getting involved in all the gun running, the drug smuggling, all the different stuff. What was the drugs drops or something that we're saying? It was like the eye drop thing.
That. Yeah.
Like he's still running that business. He's still working, and then obviously Falcone dies at the end.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, so Penguin's going to step up and take over that. Although that I will say that whole final scene made no sense. Penguin is literally surrounded by a bunch of cops he knows are not corrupt, is getting mouthed out by Falcone, and just decides, I'm going to pull my gun on him. Why? Why wouldn't you just let them take him? Yeah. And then, like, I run this business now, this is mine.
Yeah.
Why would you do that like that and not just order a hit later? It was so stupid, and it made no sense for him to do it. But
I totally spaced on that scene.
Because then I
remember Falcone getting shot. I don't remember. I forgot he pulled his gun on him.
But yeah, because they made it look like Penguin had done it, and it was Batman that realised it was Riddler. But it doesn't make sense because Penguin's just left, and I'm like, well, no, why aren't you arresting him? He just attempted to murder him. Yeah, I know he's the one that shot and killed him, but him over there pulled a gun and all. He was going to do it. Yeah. It's like, that at least deserves to be arrested, if not, like jail time,
Yeah.
It's like, that was the only thing that didn't make sense, but let's take the chance to shout out that phenomenal car chase scene.
Okay. Oh my gosh, it's so good. It's so good. And this fully showcases the new Batmobile, and this is where I was 100% sold. Because there's a scene where I think Penguin is just trying to get away, and you see an alley, and you see the engine on the Batmobile just light up. And
that
you
was
hear it
so cool.
You hear it rev up, and you see the silhouette of Batman in the car, and you see it take off. Dude, it is so sweet.
I love the way they played out the whole chase as well. Like, Penguin is literally running for his life, to the point of he takes like the wrong ramp onto the highway and ends up going into oncoming traffic.
Yeah.
And it like ends up like Batman chasing him, and I'm not gonna lie, like, I know the scenes in the trailer, like the scene where like, he's like laughing and like the Batmobile comes flying through the flames.
Yeah.
Like, that scene I know is in the trailer, but it hits so different when you watch the whole scene, and you're like, all the stuff that he throws to try and stop him, and then he thinks, I got you, and his Batmobile goes flying through the flames.
It T-bows him, and the Penguin's car flips, and then you get that upside down shot of Batman walking towards his car with fire behind him in the rain.
It's such a cool shot. Although, can we take a note to say as well, like, that scene of like Penguin in that car is one of many scenes where characters in this movie should be dead, and for some reason aren't. Like, not even by comic book logic. Like I don't care what armor you're wearing. And you know what scene I'm thinking of?
Batman, right?
When the squirrel suit.
So there's a scene where, there's a scene in. We're not going to hit this movie plot point by plot point like we normally do.
No, we're rambling at this point. We're just
rambling.
But
there's a point at which Batman goes into Gotham City PD. He's talking to Commissioner, or he's not a commissioner, Detective Gordon at the time, and he's amongst a bunch of cops, and he has to get out because they're trying to like take him in. They're trying to take Batman in, and he has to get out. And and Gordon's like, punch me, and he's like, what? He's like, punch me, and then so Batman ends up just full in the face, fist, armor on the fist, just punching the bejesus out of Gordon. And he gets out. He goes to the roof. They're shooting at him. He does his little battering thing and just goes to the roof. And he has, which I didn't think I was gonna like at first because I saw the Funko Pop for it. But he has like a little squirrel suit. The ones.
But it makes sense because he gets up there and he almost like stops
sense.
at the top, and it's like he doesn't have the cape yet to do the gliding. He's not got all that set in place.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
But he's set up to do a squirrel suit so that he can glide, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Early days, that makes sense.
So he jumps off the top of Gotham City PD, and he's flying down within Gotham, and you can tell he just hasn't gotten the hang of it.
See, watching that scene, I was literally sitting there going, he looks like he's going a bit fast.
Yeah.
He looks like he's taking up a bit of speed there, and boy, did he hit everything. He hit everything.
Into a bus.
He hit everything on the way down for the air. He hits the bus, he hits a sign, he crashes into trash cans, and I'm like, how are you not?
Be dead.
How are you not dead? Like, he hit everything. I don't care how good your armor is.
I really like though. At later on, Gordon's like, "Dude, why didn't you pull that punch?"
Like, I did. It's like, what?
Oh my gosh, that was awesome.
But yeah, to the casting of this, so this is phenomenal casting. This is perfect casting.
Dude, the score.
The music in it was phenomenal.
I think, all right, legit. I know Tim Burton's Batman has an iconic Batman theme. I get that. But I think this will go down as, besides the animated series, as one of the de facto Batman themes. Just like Star Wars has its theme from John Williams, Superman has his theme. We know that. I think this will go down as one.
I think this will go down, and I think. Because it's weird, it hits me, because, like, see, when you're first thinking of it, like, the music doesn't jump out at me. But I think it kind of does at the same time, because, like, it immerses you so much. Hey, Az, literally just finished watching it. Phenomenal, just catching this, bro. We've been talking about the casting of it so far, and we're just kind of getting into the music of it.
Yeah.
And it's like, but yeah, the music it really helps immerse you into this world. And it's like, it's so well done. It's such a good job.
Yeah, one of the things, like, it just as kind of like a side tangent, I think one of the things that Christopher Nolan does really well in his movies is the sound effects, the music, and stuff like that. And this was very reminiscent of that.
Yeah,
he does. It was just totally immersive. Yeah,
like that is something that's great about the Dark Knight movies. Is the sound in it is just phenomenal. Sound editing and sound and composing is phenomenal. But in the Batman, it's like it makes this whole compressed world. It makes this whole amazing thing. And it's like, it does just totally immerse you. Although, just thinking of stuff that doesn't immerse me in it, that kind of threw me right off the bat. I meant to mention this when we were talking about Pattinson. Mm-hmm. Does anyone else think that the opening and closing dialogues of, like, monologues from him just sounds like Rorschach from Watchmen? He started that opening dialogue, and like all I could see was Rorschach.
Yeah.
It sounded like a Rorschach monologue. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And I'm like,
when you said that, I was like, I can see that. But I really dug it, though. I thought it was really cool.
It was cool that he was kind of like analysing that stuff, but like for me, that didn't feel like Batman. It felt more like another character. And I think what was even more throwing for me is that he doesn't do it throughout the movie. Mm-hmm. It's literally at the start and literally at the end. Like, he's telling this as a story to someone. Yeah. See if he did it and like it was a kind of like internal monologue when he was processing stuff and thinking stuff, and it happened a few times. Fair enough, yeah.
Ads with the sub. Thanks for the sub.
Ads coming in with that sub. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you, man.
You're a beast.
14 months, man. Dude, legend. Absolute legend.
Scottish to me. Come on now. Let's do it.
But you know what I mean, though? It's like it pulled me out of like, if you're trying to say stuff that isn't really like Bruce Wayne and Batman. Mm-hmm. That felt like a guy who goes like, this is what brooding guys do. Yeah. They monologue to themselves. You know, it's like you have expected to see him sitting in like a big chair, like just talking, and like Alfred to walking, like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, I think that's one of those things in comic book movies that you're like, okay, that's a little bit cheesy, but I'm like, dude, it's sweet.
It's like
it's sweet.
It's like I can see it. I just like, and that's the thing. Like the stuff he's saying was cool, and I get they were trying to be artsy with it. For me, it just didn't feel like Batman. It just felt a bit. It felt a bit okay. But at the
Yeah.
same time, though, it's like, yeah, I can see why people might enjoy it as well. It's not that bad thing. It just kind of came to my mind there, so I wanted to throw it in.
Yeah.
So
The cinematography, the way that they shot the movie,
the movie looks
amazing.
beautiful, man.
It's
It
beautiful,
looks
yeah.
so good. It's
It's
so
beautiful.
well
And most
shot,
of it
so well
obviously
put
is at
together.
night. You know,
Yeah,
it's still awesome.
but it didn't feel like a bad thing. Sometimes when you get stuff at night like that, it's like it feels very samey, or it feels like.
Yeah.
Do you know what I really appreciated? There was a lot of shots that were taken, especially when they're talking up at the bat signal and stuff.
I know
There's
exactly what you're gonna say.
There are a lot of shots that are like sunrise and sunset,
sunrise.
and
Yes.
you're getting
I love
just not like bright daylight, but just a little bit
Yeah.
of light coming in, and just
Yeah.
that changes the tone.
There was a lot
because
of
it's like
silhouetting.
because there was a lot of nighttime shots, but also you see that and you're like, okay, days are rolling past. It's not just same night, same darkness, same dark.
Yeah.
There's different shots. The silhouettes, like I'll go back to it again. I kind of joked about it with a kiss, but see, like when him and Selena kiss at the back signal, and then there's that silhouette of them together,
Yeah.
and then have her walking away.
Yeah.
It's just such a stunning shot.
There's
It's
a lot of really,
shot so well.
there's a lot of really cool silhouette shots in this movie. Like
Yeah.
you have the one at the beginning where he kind of walks out of the shadows and like beats the crap out of those dudes. You have the one where he's in the hallway and they're just
To go with that
going ham on him.
if we can just say that cinematography for shots like that as well, if I can just we've praised the sound design, but the sound design and cinematography for those scenes where it's like you don't see him in the dark, you just hear the
Yes. Yes.
of the boots, and like you have no idea what's about to come out, but you just
Yes.
hear it, and then you just
awesome.
see the silhouette just coming out of the darkness, and just it's
Yeah.
like,
That was a perfect like visual introduction for Pattinson's Batman because he looked properly terrifying.
yes, ads 100%. I was thinking this when watching the show. Can we agree that the Bruce Wayne from Gotham TV series grew up to be this Batman? I thought this is a freaking sequel to the Gotham TV series. I'm watching it like this, like I'm seeing stuff like that. Like Sean Pertwee becomes freaking what's his name? I completely forgot his name. Andy Serkis. Like the kid for Gotham 100% becomes this Bruce Wayne. There were so many hints to that. I just kind of caught my that could so have been a sequel if done a certain way, but 100% that's his Batman. But yeah, there's everything in this is phenomenal. Do we want to start hitting some actual plot points to it and like where the story kind of went and what we thought of where the story was, because like it was intriguing. It was very intriguing for how this.
It was really involved. Like, so the main driving point behind it was Riddler trying to pull a rat out of the political and police system within Gotham. Right, he was trying to out the corruption within Gotham. And there was a lot of players obviously involved in that.
Well, can I just say for that from Riddler as well? That's one of the things that we've always talked about is a great defining point for a good villain, is that they believe they're in the right.
Yeah.
That what they're doing is the right thing, and it's very hard to argue that this Riddler did not think he was doing the right thing. Like, he obviously thought he was bringing people out of the dark into the light. He was bringing the lies to an end and bringing out the corruption. Like, so phenomenal. But sorry to jump in with that there, but like that's that driving force of like what we've always talked about. It helps make a good villain.
You're good. I'm gonna try to remember as much of this as possible, but. So, like, obviously within the movie, you're weaving in and out of the underbelly of Gotham. You're going to the Iceberg Lounge, and there's a back room in the Iceberg Lounge where like senators and politicians and corrupt detectives go. And there's a lot of like play on the the drug running with the drops that Penguin is doing. Falcone's involved with all of that, and at the end, like we even find that even Bruce Wayne's dad, Thomas Wayne, is caught up in all of that. Now, I know I had talked to you a little bit about this. Like one thing that really kind of gets on my nerves is when is a tendency that I saw happening of making Thomas Wayne just a monster, like just like an evil, a rich evil person, and I feel like that's such low hanging fruit to do that. Can we not just have somebody who's just filthy rich who just like helps people?
See, I think the reason
like they were. No, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, I think the reason that we see that so often is kind of like what I talked about earlier of how like that's the driving force of Batman. It's the death of his parents, and as kind of as part of that is almost like it's the death of his parents, but how he views his parents, what his perception of his parents are. So it's one of those things of like I think it's meant to throw a little spanner in the works of that. Of like, if Batman is like thrown, if his parents aren't infallible, if they are horrible, evil people,
Yeah.
then what is the purpose of him keeping their memory alive? What is the purpose of him doing this for their sake? It's like, it's almost like that kind of driving force to it. Don't get me wrong, not everybody pulls it off that well in terms of that storytelling, but I think that's what they try to go for a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Either that or I'm just being very generous with how I'm seeing things, but...
Well, they started to go that route in this movie, because at one point there's indication that Thomas Wayne had worked with Falcone to try to get dirt on another, what was it, a politician or a senator or something like that.
Oh,
but Falcone ended up killing them.
Yeah, it was because he was running for mayor or for the Senate or something like that.
That's
He was
right.
running for it. But his mom's family, like Bruce's mom's family, is the Arkhams, or like it has mental health issues and disorders, and she
Yeah.
was treated for that, and like basically it was looking like it was going to get exposed, and he was trying to basically pay off this reporter or have them taken care of, or that wouldn't come out.
Yeah.
And basically he goes to Falcone for help with that, and has Falcone kill him, or at least it
Yeah.
looks like he has him kill him.
Yeah.
Which of course throws a whole thing into Bruce's perspective on that, and we find out later that he never wanted the guy killed. He wanted it just
Yeah.
kind of silenced.
Yeah.
But then
Yeah.
Falcone killed the guy and basically put Thomas Wayne in a corner,
Mm-hmm.
because it's like, now if this comes out, it's going to look like you hired me to do it.
Yeah.
So
At
kind of like
times,
twisted it
the
for a whole 10 minutes and then just went, oh no, we're not going to do that.
No, but as soon as it started happening, I was like, oh, here we go. Because it was the same thing with Joker. Like, Thomas Wayne was just an awful human being. And I was like, come on, man, are we doing this again? Really? I know we're running out of ideas, but do we have to completely change the character of Thomas Wayne to do that?
I think
But,
that's the thing. I think in Joker it was literally just everybody's horrible. Nobody
That's
is
true.
redeemable
That's
in this
true.
movie, not even a
That's
little.
It was a very dark movie. But one of the cool aspects that I liked about the movie is at times it almost felt like a buddy cop movie between
Yeah.
between Gordon and Batman, and I really dug that part. Like when they were really getting into the detective trying to solve the mystery of the Riddler.
There was
And
a
at one
lot
point-
of great partnership between them we saw in this.
Yeah. At one point, it's there's indication that Riddler knows who Batman is, and he's going to like expose who Batman is as Bruce Wayne. And there's a bunch of pictures of Bruce Wayne up, but obviously we find out that Riddler does not know that Batman is Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
But there's that tension towards the last half of the movie where you're like, holy crap, is he going to get outed?
Yeah, so you're gonna get outed in like freaking year 2 of this, like. Which I love the
Yeah.
fact he even kind of says it to Gordon when they're searching the Riddler's place. Like he sees the stuff and thinks it, and even says to him like, "This might be coming to an end."
Yeah.
And like, it's almost like he kind of knows. And obviously it doesn't happen and stuff. We talked about that already, and it's like, but like I love the partnership that they have between them. It's a really good driving force for this movie.
I agree. It was
Um,
really cool. I love the
it's
characterization of Gordon.
It's really played out well. The whole movie's played out well. The storyline, just Riddler's driving force and the people that he takes out. Like, also talked about it, like as the mayor gets taken out and the DA gets taken out. One gets pummeled to death. The other one gets blown up at the funeral.
Doesn't the police chief gets killed too in his car, right?
Yes, the police chief gets killed. That's right. He gets killed because a new commissioner comes in and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
who, I'm glad he's not in a lot of the movie. See that new police commissioner, by the way. I know it's a stupid little pet peeve for me, but like his voice,
I'm
like
trying to remember who it was.
really irritated me, and I'm so glad he doesn't show up beyond that one scene.
I'm trying to remember who it was.
But yeah, so they get taken out. Like the mayor gets bludgeoned to death, and the No More Lies thing gets put on his, gets put on him. What was it? The DA like has to answer the questions like we talked about. And can we just talk about the fact that Batman takes an explosion to the face
Dude,
during that
he's like
funeral?
5 feet away from it.
He's not even 5 feet. It's almost like point blank, and like not even a singe on him. Like
No.
your full chin is exposed. It should be burned. You
Yeah,
should have
your
severe
eyes are
burns.
exposed. Everything's exposed. You should not have eyeballs anymore.
And like
I mean,
no,
let's
just
be
takes it
honest.
to the face and he's knocked unconscious. We also then get the whole thing of like when he's escaping there, and we find out that the next person he's going for is actually him. Him and Gordon find one of the places you think the Riddler is, and he's just got like a projector set up showing like the clips of Thomas Wayne.
Yeah.
and basically says, yeah, the sins of the father will be visited upon the son.
Yeah.
And he realizes, crap, he's gonna be attacked, but the package is heading to Wayne Manor where he's not there, but Alfred is.
Yeah.
And
I was like, are they gonna kill Alfred in the first movie? No.
I'm so glad they didn't, because Andy Serkis is amazing as Alfred.
Dude,
he's
awesome.
phenomenal.
I feel like he's a bruiser. He looks like a bruiser, man.
He looks like he was like, he didn't grow up privileged. He grew up in like a London gang before coming over to be a butler. Like he could handle
he has proper scars and everything.
Yeah, again, actually, kind of like what Ads was saying with Gotham. Well, like, I honestly feel like watching, like, if you watch Gotham, like Sean Pertwee and that has the same sort of feeling. I feel like this is a continuation of that Alfred. Like, this is an Alfred that can definitely take care of himself, and even says to Bruce, like, I'm not great at the father thing, and trying to raise you, I'm not great at that. It says I can teach you to fight, but that's about it. And I fully believe you can teach him to fight. I fully believe half of what he knows came from Alfred at this point.
Yeah.
So much of this, like the beatdown stuff, like, yeah, that was Alfred, 100%. But yeah, so Alfred gets taken out, and then after he finds out the stuff with his father from Falcone, who he goes to see, goes to him and gets the truth of what actually happened, and it's a really interesting little turn of all this stuff that's going on. And what was it? It's Renewal. Was that the name of it? The project his father had been working on, and that people were putting money in to do the city. And then after his father died, it became like a basically drop pot for all these crime bosses and all these corrupt cops and all these people to get money out of.
Oh yeah, it was just a slush fund basically.
And all of this stuff had basically been corrupted and turned to what was making the city fall. It was like, it was so well plotted.
Yeah.
It was 100% a detective story, because each clue led to something else that built upon what was there, but you didn't get lost in it. Like sometimes with detective stories, you know how you can get lost in like how everything fits and how things go a certain way.
But a lot happened, but it wasn't like too much.
But you don't lose track of it all. It's like it all seemed to fit really well together, and it's like it was so well done. Like, okay, the part of the plot I need to talk about. We talked about how the fact of like all the stuff happened leading up to this. Falcone. Okay, first of all, that doesn't make sense. That's not even the bit I was going to get into. But Falcone is the rat. Doesn't make sense. Like he's the rat. He's running the city. We're all answering to him. We don't. It's like we're not paying him. We answer to him. Then he's not a freaking rat. Then is he? He's the one running the place. That's not what a rat is.
Yeah.
A rat's an informant, for goodness sake. That doesn't make sense then. You're meant to be the Riddler. Because they go after Penguin, as we said, thinking he's the rat. He's working with the police. Like, no, the police work for Falcone. It's like, that's not a rat. That's not what that is. So, but we deal with the whole thing with the rat. It turns out it's Falcone, apparently. Riddler takes him out. Riddler escapes. They go up to the building, which I love the fact of like Riddler's hideout, where he's been planning all this stuff, is literally across the street from the GCPD building. He has literally been across the street from the police that are hunting him. He escapes, but I love the fact he escapes and just goes to a coffee shop near him.
That's a really cool scene.
It's like just him there, and it's that thing of like he knows he's caught, but there's no fight, there's no fuss around it. He's so calm. But then it's like, because it's like, you're almost like, okay, well that's the end of the movie. We've caught Riddler, we've stopped the death, the truth has came out, we got rid of the rat, Falcone's dead, we've taken care of it. No, we need to have another half hour of this movie.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, don't get me wrong, a lot of exciting stuff happened. The fighting, and it was phenomenal.
One of my favorite scenes in the movie happens in this last part.
But at the same time, it feels like we were going a certain direction with the tone, and we just went boom.
Agreed.
In a completely different direction for no freaking reason. And don't get me wrong, like I was kind of on board a little bit, because it turns out Riddler has been talking about this online on the dark web. He has been posting stuff, and people have been getting on board with him, and he's even got like other followers.
Yeah.
Which is almost like a little Riddler cult who are helping like
500 people or something like that.
Who are like taking on, like people from Gotham are putting on the Riddler costumes and stuff. I thought, okay, this is cool. This is like, it's bigger than him, and it's like, it shows almost like the fight of the disenfranchised who are like, no, this corruption has to stop. I'm like, okay, this could be interesting. It's like, oh, we've set bombs around Gotham. I'm like,
Yeah, right next to the water.
I'm like, okay, awesome. We've got bombs. He's going to have to go disarm the bombs. Boom! They all go off.
Yeah. And I thought at first, I'll be honest, at first when that
Why
happened, I
is there
thought it was,
why is there a dam round Gotham?
dude, I thought it was like a dream sequence. I thought this can't be really happening. They're not flooding Gotham right now, right?
I like,
But no, they do.
but it doesn't make sense though, because they've blown up like 4 different parts of this wall. So like, is Gotham like the city that's like inside the water? Because it's like you know Gotham's usually like a little island and there's bridges that come off of it, and the design of we see in this movie agrees with that
Yeah.
design. It shows a similar design. You see Batman looking at it from the roofs. It looks very similar to the stuff we've seen before.
Yeah.
And then they blow up these walls and water starts flooding in. I'm like, from where?
Yeah.
Or like, is part of this like submerged already? Like, what's going on? And there's like, so the whole city just starts to flood. And can we talk
Yeah,
as well
they're,
about
like,
the fact
10
of
feet
like,
water.
but yeah, so like he's got these Riddler like groupies that are like all set up to help pull this off. Batman's like goes to face the Riddler because he wants to see him and breaks Riddler's poor little heart because tells him like, I'm not working with you, you're a psycho.
Yeah, we're not partners.
We're not partners in this. And he's like, because he thinks like we're working together to clean up Gotham, which I love that element of his character. Like he sees them as the same. We're both masked vigilantes trying to stop corruption in Gotham, and
Yeah.
to a certain extent, you can't disagree with him. Like
Yeah, they are.
he's a little bit more extreme in killing them, but it's like, yeah, he's doing. And then obviously we get the bit we talked about where it's like the whole thing. It looks like he knows he's Bruce Wayne, and it turns out he's not. It's just the way he's speaking reveals he's mad that Bruce Wayne survived. And you find out like the main part of his plan hasn't been revealed yet. And they go back to the apartment. He sees the videos that have been posted, and just luckily, the police officer that's there watching it knows exactly what the tool he murdered the first guy is.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a tool for like tucking carpets under the sideboards. And like,
Yeah.
it's a good thing you know that, son, because otherwise we'd never have worked out what was about to happen. Because Batman rips up the carpet and Riddler keeps all his main information underneath the carpet that's tucked under the sideboards of his apartment. Even though everything else is everywhere. There is literally no reason.
Evidence.
There is legitimately
This
no
specific
reason.
evidence we're going to put on the carpet.
There's legitimately no reason for that to be under the carpet except to set up this final 30 minutes of the movie being more in depth.
Yeah.
But of course, so the whole thing is like they're trying to flood the whole place and they're trying to get everyone to go to Gotham Square Garden.
Is that what it's called? No. Wow. They couldn't think of another name. Oh man, those poor people.
I know. It's like, I don't know if it's exactly that. It's like something. It's like, it's definitely Gotham something Garden. I think it's Gotham Square Garden, and it's clearly like you've clearly created like Madison Square Garden and just put Gotham in instead. And it's as
So
big.
that's a question that I have. Total side tangent. In the DC universe, is Gotham New York, or is New York its own separate city?
It's a separate city.
Okay.
It's a separate city. Like New York and Chicago and all that still exists, but there's all these like fictional cities like Gotham and Metropolis and Bloodhaven and Coast City and Central City and stuff like that are all separate. I don't know what the map of of DC's America looks like, but they're all like their own cities. I don't know if some of them replace cities.
Apparently, Gotham Square Garden has been used in Batman comics, Batman and Batgirl, back in like the '60s.
No, they went
and world's finest comics way back in the day.
Yeah, 60s. There's a reason they don't do it today though. Like it was one of those moments I went, no, that's a bit cringy.
Yeah,
But
that was bad.
But they get everyone to Gotham Square Garden, where basically like it's came out like whoever the other woman is, I can't even remember her name, that was running for mayor. Is setting up her celebration, so she's there with all her people, but everyone starts running there to be safe from the flood. As it starts to take over all of Gotham, and right on top of the scoreboard, like in the centre of it, all of Riddler's people are set up to start taking people out.
Yeah.
So we get an amazing fight scene up on top of there.
So sweet.
With Batman. Like
one of my favorite
the
scenes
action in this movie is freaking amazing. The fighting in this feels so real and gritty and brutal, and it's magnificent to watch. It's so good, and he's
up top on top of the Titantron type thing, fighting with these dudes on top of the catwalks.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
One of them point blank shoots him in the chest with a shotgun. Like it is like point blank.
He gets point blank. By the way, his armor is amazing in this movie.
Amazing.
Like, he takes like rapid fire, multiple machine guns hitting him at the same time, shotgun blast to the chest. Absolutely fine. Like, he takes the explosion, like, point blank. Like, his armor is magnificent in this movie, I must say.
Like, it looks like he's gonna, like, croak. Like, it looks like he's gonna die.
I know. Gabo's saying it in chat as well. Like, his complete imperviousness to bullets was a little much for me. I like, yeah, especially for somebody that's like year 2 Batman. This isn't like Batman with like this reinforced armor that he's designed specifically for this. This is year 2 Batman.
One thing that I think that, if I remember correctly, that Batman Begins and The Dark Knight did really well is, like, when he got injured, he altered his suit to protect from that specific type of injury.
Well, see, I liked it because like he had like the big heavy suit, and then it was making him. It was also a deterrent to him because he was too slow in it.
Yeah, he was adjusting his suit as he went.
And I love the fact that he talks with with Fox about that. He says to him like that, it's like, I'm looking for something that's a bit lighter suit that can move quicker, and he says, well, I can offer you that, but you're going to give up like certain durability.
Yeah.
Because like to have that flexibility, you're not going to be as protected from stuff. And it's like, so like there's actual talks about it like being like real armor. This armor just like,
he's wearing a tank, let's be honest.
Also as well, can I say, like, with his suit, do you think that the bat symbol was meant to be his batarangs when they first designed it, or do you think they threw it in because he does not use that as a batarang until like the last 30 minutes of this movie as well? I feel like that was meant to be a design, and they went, "Oh, that could be his batarangs."
He used it as a box cutter at one point. He just cut some plastic. I'm like, really?
Like, was that necessary? Like, you can't. Okay, but yeah, the fight scene up there with all the Riddler's goons is amazing. Catwoman makes her way up there to help him because he's like starting to get overwhelmed. There are so many of them.
Yeah.
She gets injured and is about to get taken out, and then he injects something in his leg. No idea what it is.
No explanation.
Is it adrenaline? Is it venom?
A steroid?
Is it a steroid? It looks like it's Mountain Dew. It looks like this glowing, this neon green liquid that he just stabs into his leg.
Yeah.
Which apparently
he just goes berserk.
Yeah, like he goes berserker and is like pummeling this guy, and I'm like, and all I'm thinking in my head is like, you know, this guy isn't like some super powered being. You know, this is just some dude on the internet that thought this was a good idea, and you're just like pummel.
You are beating the brakes off of him right now.
Like, you literally had to be stopped. It's like, oh my goodness, stop. But I did like the little thing when he unmasked the dude though, because the dude says I'm vengeance. And I love that's a little callback because throughout the movie he's called himself Vengeance. That's been his own nickname for himself.
Yeah. He
never refers to himself as Batman. He always says, I am Vengeance. And it's like, even Catwoman calls him Vengeance. And it's always like that little thing clicks with him of like, this is what vengeance begets. Is this sort of chaos.
Yeah.
Then amazingly it looks like Batman's about to sacrifice himself because there's electrical wires falling, about to fall into the flooded Gotham Square Garden. And he like pulls himself over there and cuts it and falls into the water. I love the fact they try to make that look epic when you're like, he's just fallen into a pool of water.
Yeah.
Like, he cut the cable, it's not electrified anymore. It's like, it's not going to electrocute him or anything, it's just water. And I'm like, you're trying to make this way more epic. I know, like that's actually the best thing he could land on there, because below that's just a floorboard. If he'd hit that, he'd be in more trouble.
You do get that sweet shot afterwards, though, of him leading the people up to the roof, and he has that flare. It's that overhead shot with the flare.
The flare, and see, that I love though. That is one thing I did love in the final part of this movie. Was like, I felt like a lot of this was over the top. Don't get me wrong, the action was cool. Like, I love the action in it. It's phenomenal in this scene. But I felt like this was tacked on. But that scene, that bit of it, made sense. Because like he hits his flare on, and it's him helping the people out, and it's almost that thing of like the people are. It's that transition of the people being scared of this mass vigilante to realising he's here to help.
Yeah.
And it's that transition of himself as well, I think. It's the first step of him realising, I can't just be vengeance. I have to be more.
Yeah.
And if I want to be more than just vengeance against these bad guys, I have to actually help as well.
Yeah.
And he helps the people out, he helps them up to the roof, he helps like load people up to the helicopter. There's even that sweet scene of him helping the woman that's going onto the stretcher, and like she almost like grabs him because she's scared. Yeah. And just him reassuring her, just for the looking at like, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And just that moment, and you get the cool shot of him watching the helicopters come in and stuff, and to rescue people, and it's like that bit's very cool because it's the transition of not just being vengeance but being justice, which is a massive thing, which is a massive transition point. But again, I love the fact we get to see it because this is early days.
Yeah.
And we get to see what happens with it, and it's like it was really. That's the thing as well, because I don't think the last 30 minutes fits the tone of everything else, but there is some cool parts to it.
Yeah, the last 30 minutes felt like a comic book movie.
Mm-hmm.
The previous to that it felt like it was a detective noir like type film.
Yeah, and I felt
it was
like
definitely different.
I felt like it'd been crammed together. Like that last 30 minutes could easily have been in the Dark Knight movies, like the Dark Knight trilogy. It feels like something directly out of that, which I'm fine with. I don't mind Batman doing that. I don't mind if Robert Pattinson's Batman goes full into that.
Yeah.
My issue is that's not the type of movie you've set up, and it felt like it was a totally different tone shift to that. Kibo's saying the moment when he leaps for the cable felt so comic book Batman to me. Just diving in, accepting potential death to save the people. Exactly, because I think that's the transition point, because we've not seen that Batman probably up till this point. We've seen the detective, the guy seeking vengeance, the guy seeking to get the answer. Like even we've talked about like him using Catwoman and different things like that.
Yeah.
But then up to that point, it was like saving people, helping people, sacrificing for the people.
Yeah.
And we see that tonal shift for him. So I think we'll see a lot more of that in the sequel. Because let's be honest, there's going to be a sequel. It made money. There's 100% going to be a sequel. Shall we talk about the reveal?
Where do we go?
Shall we talk about the reveal at the end first? Because that could play into what comes next.
So I'll be straight up. Going into this movie, I had no idea that existed. I didn't know that was going to be in there. I didn't know that was going to be a thing. So it threw me off at first. I was like, who the heck is he talking to? And the second I heard the laugh, I was like, oh no, they're going to do Joker again.
Yeah.
And you and I have had this conversation. I love the Joker. Joker's phenomenal. He's been done at least 4 times in live action.
Yeah.
Let's give somebody else a chance. Batman, we've also had this conversation. We talked about the rogues galleries of our comic book characters. The top person with the biggest rogues gallery, the biggest and best rogues gallery is Batman. There's
100%. 100%.
Spider-Man is a close second, but Batman takes the cake. You have so many good rogues, so many good villains that you can choose for Batman.
One second, my camera
was going nuts, dude.
My camera decided to stop focusing for a second there because I moved position. Like, what the heck was that?
I'm not saying don't introduce him in this universe, just not right now.
We don't need it. We don't need a Joker this early. Like that whole scene. Like, see, as soon as he started talking and we just saw the figure in the scene, I was like, oh no, this is it. Like, cause I'd seen hints before I went in of like who his character was going to be. What's the guy's name? I can never say it right.
Barry Keoghan, I think.
Barry Keoghan. I always forget his name, but like Barry Keoghan's character, I'm like, and who is his character?
Yeah.
Which I saw articles posted with that, like who's his character. Of course, one of the ones comes up is Joker, and I just kind of thought of, well, of course they're going to mention Joker because we're Joker obsessed. And then like I saw it, and I'm like, well, it's clearly freaking Joker.
Yeah.
There's no way it's not. You just didn't put his makeup face on the screen. The way he talks, the way he carries himself. I don't even have an issue with him playing Joker.
Yeah, I don't at all.
The way he talks, the way he kind of held himself, the way he had the conversation, I'm like, this could be an interesting Joker.
Yeah.
The laugh was spot on. I think this could work. I mean, it's not the worst live action Joker we've had. That title will forever go to Jared Leto.
Oh my gosh.
So don't at me, Suicide Squad. Like, you almost killed an iconic character with that. But like I was talking to you, we have got so many amazing rogues in his rogues gallery, so many amazing villains. Like, I don't need to see a retelling of Batman v Joker. I know that's the iconic pairing. I know that's the thing. Like, build up to that. Have that be the third or even the fourth movie in the series. Like, build up to Joker. You've hinted at him. Please don't do him right away again.
Yeah,
it's like
there's actually I think they filmed a scene with Barry Keoghan and Robert Pattinson. It's an interrogation scene. So I don't know if that's going to be on the. It's because
that better have been just a test scene. That
I think it might be I don't know if it's going to be a deleted scene on the DVD or whatnot, but he was trying to get information on Riddler, and he went to Arkham hospital to talk to Joker.
I'm so grateful they cut that out. First of all, you're redoing Joker. We talked about it. We've mentioned it right at the start. As far as we're both concerned, Dark Knight is better than this movie.
Oh yeah,
Dark Knight ranks above it. One of the reasons Dark Knight ranks so highly is the phenomenal portrayal of Heath Ledger's Joker.
Yep.
There's a couple of people who don't agree with it, a couple of people who aren't into it, but for the most part, everyone agrees that is one of the iconic Joker performances, if not the iconic Joker performance, in the way he portrays him. One of the most iconic scenes from that movie is a freaking interrogation scene.
Yeah.
Why would you try and recreate that? Thank goodness they cut it. Why would you do that?
I don't know, dude.
That's like having him standing in the street with a machine gun and Batman riding his bike at him. Like, you're clearly referencing something better.
Yeah.
Don't do it. It's like,
yeah, but like you said, I don't have an issue with Barry Keoghan as Joker. I like him as an actor, and his laugh sounded spot on. Like, I liked it. It sounded like a different take on the Joker.
He's a good actor.
Joker's
a phenomenal character. Joker is one of these amazing comic book villains, if not the best comic book villain in existence. Yeah. He is iconic. The problem is that for some reason we've become so obsessed with him, partially due to Dark Knight being such a success.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, he got his own movie. Joker has his own movie. How many other villains have got their own movie?
Yeah.
My problem is that we're being oversaturated with Joker, and in my opinion, Joker works better when he's few and far between.
Yeah.
It's that thing of like, you know, like when you, how scary is a horror villain? Well, see when
Depends
you do
on how often you see him.
See when you do 15 movies explaining their backstory and telling me every little detail about them, every time you show them and tell me more, they become less scary. Yeah. Jason is not more scary in Friday the 13th series because I know more about him. He's scarier when I don't know who this nut job in a hockey mask is.
Yeah.
Why is Leatherface terrifying in the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and why has that never been recaptured in any other sequel? Because it's the first time and I don't know who this guy is and he is terrifying.
Yeah.
Why is it scarier that in the comics Joker doesn't have an origin? Because the less I see him and the less I know about him, the better, because he is terrifying.
That's a really good point.
Joker needs to be used few and far between. I'm not saying don't do Joker against Robert Pattinson's Batman, because I think it would be phenomenal to see them go up against each other. Mm-hmm. I literally mean like movie 4 or 5. Like, don't even have him in the first trilogy. Just have like hints at him like this. If you just do this and hint at it, perfect. But touch the other villains. There are so many.
I feel like this is a good transition for us. A good transition point in the stream. Where do we go from here?
All right, well,
if you were writing this, where would you go from here?
I want to hit Ads' comment first because his is an idea on that as well. I feel that Professor Pig would be a perfect for the sequel. Maybe not as the main villain, but definitely in there. He'd be an interesting. He's a good lesser, like kind of like psychopath at Arkham. He's not a well-known villain. I don't even know as much about Professor Pig. He could be interesting to do, especially with the more grounded stuff. You and I have talked about the fact of like I would love to see a live-action Clayface.
Oh yeah, that's my number one.
Because I would love them to delve into the not quite so grounded.
Yeah. It's such a tragic story, too.
Villains. It's like, I think he'd be a really interesting one to do.
And let's be honest, that Clayface episode in the Batman animated series, and you know exactly which one I'm talking about. It's the best episode, I think, of that entire series. Mm-hmm. There's no question about it.
Definitely if not the... Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I feel like he would be an awesome villain. No, I feel like most everyone knows nothing about him. Of the
so it's a brand new thing and a brand new intro to a lot of people.
Mr. Freeze.
That was
a proper Mr. Freeze.
That was one of the ones that I was thinking of. Like, if we do Mr. Freeze and basically do again like Batman the Animated Series, where we introduced the whole Nora Freeze stuff.
Yes.
If we did something like that and gave him a real tragic story and made people sympathize with him, we could redeem like the Batman and Robin. Don't get me wrong, I love Arnold Schwarzenegger's Mr. Freeze. It's a guilty pleasure. He is so Mr. goofy. Freeze. He's so goofy that I love it. But if you're talking like an actual like proper take on him, I'd love to see someone portray that.
Now you had a really cool idea, which I don't know a lot about. I know you've read this run. I have not. I don't know anything about it. But you were talking to me about it the other night?
Yeah, this one came to me because they were actually talking about it. We've talked about it a little bit. like Robert Pattinson and Matt Reeves and stuff are big fans of them as villains, and there's talks that maybe we could go that direction. And that's the Court of Owls. I'm kind of back and forth on this one. I adore the Court of Owls. I think they're a phenomenal introduction. Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo's like intro run to them in the New 52 is phenomenal. It's one of the best Batman like story arcs I've ever read. I love the Court of Owls storyline. It's so cool. You get to see these amazing characters. You get to see this amazing organization that's running everything behind Gotham. You get to see Batman getting broken down and like going mad with the torture they put him through. It's a really cool idea. My issues with it, though, because a lot of people are talking Court of Owls now because of that.
Yeah.
My issues with it are, I think it hits harder if it's a more established Batman, because the whole point of the Court of Owls is this organization is like a fairy tale that have been like running stuff in Gotham for centuries. Having a Batman who's more established, like him not having heard of them when he's like been away doing stuff and only been Batman for a couple of years is fine, but being aware that Batman has been like functioning in Gotham and doing his thing in Gotham for like over a decade, even like for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and the Court of Owls has been operating all this time since before he was born, and he has no clue that they exist, no hint of them, no trace of them, and yet somehow he now stumbles onto them for the first time and realizes they're a threat. They capture him, they put him in a maze, they like torture him, they attack the city with the Talons, they're warriors. There's so much cool stuff there, but it works better when it's an established Batman. And also, if you do lead on to the City of Owls part of the story, when they actually attack Gotham, he calls upon the whole Bat family to help, because there are too many Talons to fight himself.
You need a Robin,
hitting all different parts of the city, so you need Nightwing and Red Robin and Red Hood and Batgirl and Batwoman. You need these characters because the whole of Gotham is being overrun by them. You need backup, and this Batman is too early in his career for backup. Even if you introduced Robin, like, okay, there's two of them against this army, and I'm like, no, that is a big finale. That's like a third movie when he's been established for a little while. You can do a time jump to it and go into it maybe, but for the second movie, no, I don't think
they introduce a proper Robin in the second movie?
I'd be up for that, depending how they did it.
Yeah, they could introduce Grayson as a young kid, and they could carry that on into the third movie and maybe explore Nightwing a bit.
Because that's my thing as well, is like with Robert Pattinson's one, like I think maybe wait one more movie to introduce a Robin, possibly, and that's just because I feel like Robert Pattinson's Batman is still very young feeling, and I don't know if I can go into seeing him taking on that role of adopting a kid to try and help them without seeing him maybe like even halfway through the movie have him do it, but like I want to see him more established a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, now we've kind of got what his purpose is bringing justice and his changing of what he's doing in Gotham. I want to see a little bit more of him running with that before he then tries to be a father figure. Because, like, if you take Bruce Wayne as he is in this movie, there's no way he should be touching a kid.
No way.
Came out completely wrong, but he shouldn't be doing that either. He shouldn't be, being a father and trying to raise a kid and trying to do that. Hey, JB, thank you so much for the lurk, brother. Appreciate it. I'd say, go back to the question I asked on a previous podcast after watching the movie. Which Robin do you choose?
That's all you, man. I don't know. I know you're a huge fan of the Bat family.
I think, now that I've seen the movie, I think it has to be Dick Grayson. It has to be Dick, because like you could introduce Tim Drake and have him like work it out and stuff that he's Batman, just like he did in the comics and stuff, work out that Bruce Wayne's Batman and kind of get himself almost half adopted in. But I think you need Dick Grayson. I think you need you need the light-hearted element against this dark Batman. You need the thing, because like Batman's one of those things of like he could go off the rails into complete darkness, and Dick Grayson's almost like a lighter side of him.
He needs the yin and the yang.
He needs that part of him, and I think this Batman would benefit from the success story. I think it would be a great step in this Batman to see this kid went through what I went through, and there is an exit for him. He can get out, and he can have a life.
Yeah.
And so I think, having watched it, it would be Dick Grayson they would have to bring in.
Yeah.
I would ask you as well about another one that had kind of been mentioned a lot, because Matt Reeves talked about being a fan of it as well, and they kind of dropped a little hint, almost like a little Easter egg, during the Thomas Wayne video.
I know what you're gonna say.
Where it popped up and it said Hush.
Yeah, Hush.
The introduction of Hush is one that Matt Reeves has talked about, and
that's another run. I haven't read a lot of Batman, at least the more recent Batmans. So I don't know a lot about Hush. I've watched the movie and stuff like that, but he seems like a really cool villain, and a lot of people are talking about him. So I mean, he would be interesting.
It's a cool villain. My only thing for it is, if you take the main Hush story, which, let's be honest, is the only time he really appears. They've tried to do it a couple of other times and it just didn't work. So the main Hush story is the fact that like this guy's ends up being a friend of Bruce Wayne's from when he was a kid and all this stuff, and it's like you can establish all that, that's fine. But the whole major thing that they do is that he plays everyone in Batman's life off each other. He plays the villains off of each other and has them doing things they wouldn't normally do. He has Poison Ivy like seduce Superman and stuff, and like overtake him at one point. You have that. You have like Jason Todd comes back from the dead. Like before he actually did come back, like they made a difference. It was him that was Hush behind it all the time, and they attacked Tim Drake. And it ended up not being him, it ended up being Clayface, and then they decided maybe it was him, and they totally buggered up his continuity with that because they couldn't decide what they wanted to do with it. They went off the rails with that one. But there was all this help to it. One of the big things to help take him out is a whole thing with Two-Face having been established, and Two-Face actually getting the other half of his face fixed is a big part of it. There's all these turning gears.
Yeah.
Which I have no problem with, because I know that Matt Reeves could handle that. He proved he can handle a lot of moving parts in this movie.
Yeah.
My only thing is there is not enough of the Batman lore established to make it as big and epic as it should be.
So it seems like regardless of where we go, you're going to have some sort of time jump between the first and the second movie in order to establish some villains or
I feel like you have to establish, and that's it. You could do it. You could take, there's a 5-year jump and like have an opening scene of him taking on somebody like Killer Croc or something like insane like that. You could set up all this stuff and establish that. My only problem with it is like there's other stories you can tell with some of these villains, like even something simple as, like I mentioned earlier, Poison Ivy. I'd love to see a story like that with Poison Ivy or Mr. Freeze, like we talked about, or like establishing these other villains where it's like there's something that can be there. I feel like with the Batman mythos, to get to some of these bigger characters, like you could have gotten us there, but they made a very specific choice to do Batman Year 2.
Yeah.
And set it up in the second year of him being Batman, which they didn't have to do. That was a personal choice. If they had a more established Batman, you could have thrown him into this movie already having a rogues gallery, have him like go into Arkham and all these people are locked up that are villains of his.
Yeah.
You could have done that, but because we've chosen to be in Year 2, I think we have to build a story that works for Year 3, 4, 5, these early years.
Yeah.
And a big part of that, I think, is like some of these other villains don't work unless you change the story. And in my head, and like that's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm thinking, for example, like Captain America: Civil War. They completely played on the Civil War name to get people of like it's Captain Man v Iron Man. But if you watch Captain America: Civil War and then read the Civil War comic, they are nothing alike. And there's a whole bunch of stuff set up in the comics that do not make an appearance in this. So you could do like Batman Hush, or you could do Batman Court of Owls,
or Batman versus the Ninja Turtles,
or Batman versus the Ninja Turtles. Hey, we've done that crossover in comics and movies, so why not? I think you could do those, but you would have to be very careful in your editing of the story to
Yeah.
get just as much of an impact out of something completely different.
Mm.
And be aware that if people are massive fans of those stories, there might be backlash if they're not done justice.
Do you feel like he does anything with League of Shadows in the second movie?
I pray that
Maybe he feels like he doesn't have enough like fighting skills or
I
whatnot.
I pray that they don't,
Yeah.
just simply because Christopher Nolan's trilogy was heavily based on the League of Shadows. Like the
Yeah.
whole first movie is Ra's al Ghul. We don't see it in the Dark Knight, but when we get to Dark Knight Rises, like Bane was trained with the League of Shadows. Talia al Ghul makes an appearance. You know, we get throwbacks to Liam Neeson's Ra's al Ghul coming back. We get
Yeah.
all this stuff happening that's clearly around the League of Shadows.
Mhm.
Even like Batman's training is via the League of Shadows and different things like that. It's
Yeah.
like, so I would really hope they don't take that direction with it.
Mhm.
Just simply because we've seen it already.
Yeah.
We've seen a trilogy heavily settling on that, and I'd rather we didn't do that again. Personally,
Yeah.
you know.
If I had to bet money, I would think I think they're going to introduce a Robin is going to be a huge player in the second movie. If I had to put money on it, I think there's going to be a bit of a time jump. They're going to establish him as the playboy, Bruce Wayne. They're going to establish his full facade as Bruce Wayne / Batman. There's going to be some pre-movie capture of some of the villains in Arkham Asylum. I feel like Arkham Asylum, Arkham Prison is going to be a huge part of the second movie.
I think that's going to fill in because we got to see a bit of Arkham at the end there with Riddle and
Yeah.
the Joker. So I think we're going to like heavily jump into that and jump into a bit more of Arkham and with the establishment, because we mentioned a lot about Arkham in this movie as well.
Mhm.
And it often gets overlooked because they talked a lot about the Waynes and the Arkhams being the founding families of Gotham.
Mhm.
So there's definitely a lot there that they could delve into for Arkham Asylum. I mean, heck,
Yeah.
you could even do something similar with that if you wanted to do a time jump, or like have villains already in there and stuff like that, and and do almost like a take on the Arkham Asylum game where Batman's in Arkham Asylum and has to deal with
Yes.
all these villains and
Yeah.
work his way through them a little bit and build that place up as much a threat it is, you know. I think you could definitely do that, but there's a lot of directions they could go. I, at this point, 100% trust Matt Reeves and Robert Pattinson
I agree.
to see where they go. I thoroughly
was-
enjoyed this, and I'm excited for a sequel.
Yeah. I really want to watch it again. I really want to
Yeah.
watch it again.
I really wanna
feel
see
like
it
I feel like it needs a second watch in order to fully absorb it.
Yeah.
A lot happens.
It's a really enjoyable movie. I'm going to happily sit and watch it again. I'm going to happily delve into this again. And I'm glad we've got a Batman that's kind of being established. I'm sad that it's not part of the DCEU
Yeah.
because it is so good. I'm very glad that we're doing this as our Batman series though instead of the Ben Affleck one now. I kind of got fed up with the whole Ben Affleck will he won't he be Batman thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So everyone's like, oh, he's still going to be Batman. I'm like, he's been doing this for like 2 years now, whether he will or won't. I don't care anymore. Like, he
Yeah.
clearly doesn't want to play the character. It's put me off him playing the character. And I will stand by, like, the most like comic accurate Batman I've seen is probably his,
Hands down.
bar like the guns. And
Bar the murdering people. But
Yeah.
yeah.
the bar like the ridiculous murdering of people, like he's definitely like with the cowl on, he is
He is
Batman. He looks like
Yeah.
it, and it's like, but he screwed around it so much to the point of like, kind of like the fact of like we talked about it the other day, like all the DC projects keep getting pushed around to the point of like, I'm not excited anymore at this point.
No.
I can't get excited about it because like it's so.
Like you can tell that like they just don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
They don't know what they're doing.
No. And that's it, and that's the thing, like I'm glad Batman's here and it's establishing this thing for DC because again all the DC stuff getting shifted around, like we talked about that, you know, we literally before I watched the Batman we had the trailer for like all the DC stuff coming out in 2022 and I'm already laughing at it because I'm like Aquaman and Flash show up and I'm like haha, you aren't showing up this year. And I'm like, what is showing up this year from DC? Shazam got pushed to December. Black Adam's coming out in October, although that got pushed back like, what is it, 4 months or something?
Yeah.
It was meant to come out in the summer, and I'm like, are DC going to release movies? Is that a thing? But
It's like
yeah,
they don't even care anymore.
but yeah, 100%. I would personally highly recommend this movie. It's not my favorite Batman movie. Definitely not the best comic book movie I've ever seen. But 100%, it's an enjoyable movie. It's well worth seeing. I would
So
definitely
you said
say
8.5 out of 10, right?
yeah, I would say solid 8.5 now. Like thinking back now that we've talked through everything, I'm like definitely 8.5. I
Yeah, I
think
would say it's a
it's not
7.5
perfect,
or
but
8.
yeah.
Yeah, 7.5, between 7.5 and 8 for me. But
Mm,
yeah, because
yeah.
what you said, a lot of the stuff that you said makes sense. Like, I didn't go into the movie with the context of this being new. He's a new Batman, like he's in
Hmm.
year two. But that, a lot of the criticisms that I have, it makes more sense now knowing that.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. It definitely changes things when it's early Batman. But then again, in saying that, that's going to be a factor in the next movie. If are we still in the early stages? Like, is the next one going to be year three, or like, are we
Yeah,
more established as Batman? Because if you do some of this stuff with a more established Batman, I don't think it works.
yeah,
So I'm going to be interested to see where it goes from here.
yeah. Agreed. Would recommend.
Yeah, absolutely. Not the best Batman movie, not the best superhero movie. So sorry to break the hearts of everyone that said it was a 9 or a 10 out of 10. Like the
Yeah,
best
you're
superhero
wrong.
movie ever.
You're wrong.
Yeah, you're wrong because you know how we're the definitive telling of how
We
this
are.
stuff actually is, you
Obviously,
know.
across the Nitro. We are the de facto comic book movie raters.
But 100%, like, yeah, this is a worthwhile movie. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I will happily see
Yeah.
it again. You know, it's like I'm excited for it to. You know, it's coming out. I think it's next month. It drops on HBO Max for streaming. I will definitely be binging it a little bit and watching it a couple more times when it hits streaming
yeah.
as well. It's like
Oh yeah.
it's well worth checking out. Oh, why in the world did that not come up for him?
I have no
That
idea.
was so random. Random, but I was complaining about the bouncers at the club because when Batman knocked, they opened the door and just shut when no one was there. I said to my friend, they were like Tweedledee and Tweedle. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like the bouncers at the club. Whenever you got the chance to talk, one of the best fight scenes is Batman just going ham at the iceberg lounge and just laying into all the bouncers. Was I feel like they were trying to do something at the door, like because when he goes there as Batman and he goes there as like Bruce Wayne, they got like the twins at the door and like one of the twins like answers the door and shuts it and goes and gets the other twin to come and answer
I
as
don't remember
well.
that part. I don't know. I feel like I'm like have gaps in my memory of this movie.
And like it's so random, but yeah, it's absolutely the bouncers at the iceberg one for so bizarre. But and again, another great fight scene as he fights his way through the club.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we are past at 4 o'clock, so we're going to be wrapping up here. But that is basically our kind of thoughts overall on the Batman. I'm sure there's probably a ton of stuff we've missed out or anything like that. But by all means, if you guys want to keep talking Batman with us, hit us up on social media, hit us up on our Discord, stuff like that. We can definitely keep the conversation going. Not to mention the fact as well that we have other great conversations going on there, lots of connections going on. If you want to catch this, if you've missed any of today's episode, it will be getting uploaded on our YouTube channel. Probably by tomorrow it should be popping up there if you want to see the video, and it'll also be getting uploaded on all our podcasts. Wherever you get your podcast from, the audio version will be uploaded there as well. So by all means, go ahead and check it out. What's that saying? I felt so embarrassed for the face painting guy at the start. He pulls a blade and just yeah, right at the start, that guy gets pummeled at the start, and it is absolutely hysterical. I just love it because he goes up to him so confident and is like, "Yeah, you don't know what's coming. We all do," and he just lays him out. It's so funny. But thank you to everyone that came and hung out with us, joined in the conversation today. This has been an absolute blast today. But we are going to let me pull up my internet and Twitch. We are going to go and drop a raid on someone I don't know who yet. We're going to see who is live. But we're going to go drop a raid, show some love, and wrap out our day. GC, he's live. Oh yeah, let's go raid Zombunny. She's actually live on a Sunday. We don't usually get to raid her. Or we could do Tipsy Mud. Oh, there are a bunch of people on today. What is going on? No one is ever on a Sunday. What is happening? One Geek's on as well. Dang. We got options and options today, Nitro.
Let's do it. We don't raid Zombunny a lot. Let's do that.
Yeah, let's raid Zombunny. How long has she been on? Oh yeah, she's only been on for a couple of hours. Alright, so we're going to head over and raid our good friend Zombunny. FYI for anyone who is family friendly, she is not. So please be aware of that going in. But she is one of the most amazing streamers you'll meet. Great person. Loving, caring, absolutely amazing woman. Go and show her some love. Drop her a follow. Drop her some likes. Drop some love. We will be back this week. Tomorrow night, Jay will be back, continuing her playthrough of Bioshock Infinite at 8:30 tomorrow night, 8:30 Eastern. She's a big Batman fan too, that's right. She loves her comic stuff as well, Kibo. But yeah, come and join Jay for her Monday night stream. She has been absolutely enjoying her playthrough of Bioshock Infinite, so come and show her some love. I will be back with some more Batman content on Tuesday night at 8 o'clock as I jump into Batman Arkham Knight. We finished Arkham City last week, so I'm getting ready to jump into some Arkham Knight. I have not played this game in quite a few years now, so I'm looking forward to jumping back into it. Nitro will be back, I believe, on Thursday. You got art this Thursday?
I'll be back on Thursday, either working on a comic or if I can get it hooked up, I'll be playing some PlayStation 5. So we'll see.
Nice.
We'll see what happens.
Nice. Keep updated on our social media for that to see what Nitro's doing on Thursday and how his setup's going. And then, of course, join us for Sea of Thieves this Friday as we are back 8 o'clock. I will be sailing out with Steel the Centurion will be joining me again. Game Boy Nikolai, formerly of the Co-op Trio podcast, if you know them, will be joining us, and a great community member of ours, Chunk the Hut, will be joining us that day as well. So I am super hyped for this. Sea of Thieves streams will be so much fun, so make sure you join us. But for all of you, I hope you have an absolutely amazing Sunday, have an absolutely great day, and remember, as always, it is a good week to be a geek. Take care. See you later, guys.
You guys.
Cierro mi